Good evening. My name is Susan Stevenson. I'm the chair of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation for the Village of Southampton, New York. I'm calling this meeting on September 14th, 2020 to order. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
So moved.
Aye.
Second.
Second, thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Great. I'd like to introduce our board. To my left, Peter DeWitt, Sarah Latham, to my right, Jeff Broadlead, and John Gregory to my far right. Our counsel, Alice Cooley, Antoinette Edwards, our recording secretary, and Charlie Styler is our proverbial videographer. Since there's no one to address, I'm not going to tell you to put the applicants need to put their materials facing us. So let's get started. Let's get started with the minutes of August 24th, 2020. Everyone read them?
Yes.
A motion to approve the minutes of August 24th, 2020 with the amendments.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Great. Next, written decisions. William and Scarlett Robertson. We have a letter in the file from Mr. Bennett, who's representing the applicant. I'll read it. Please be advised that we represent William and Scarlett Robertson with regard to the above reference application, which is to application to Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation for approval of the existing gate. Well, that wasn't the actual, it was for approval of the gate. Are you resubmitting for the existing gate now?
Would you like to explain?
I'd like to finish reading it.
Well,
I thought you asked me a question. I'm sorry.
The gate was built without permits, but it does exist. So I think that's what he means by existing.
Okay, we understand the public hearing relating to an existing gate was closed for written decision. On behalf of our client, we request that the public hearing be reopened for further submissions and discussion. Please confirm the date on which the continuation hearing will be held. Is it a continuation hearing?
Well, if you vote to reopen it tonight, which I think you should, if they have further information they want to submit, then we will continue their hearing.
Okay, board members?
Yeah, I have no objection.
Okay, open it.
I think it's, if there is information, not just, I don't know what, we need actual information, I'm willing to reopen the meeting. So motion to reopen the application of William and Scarlett Robertson at 445 Hill Street for driveway gates.
I move.
So, second.
Aye.
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 Okay, now, I guess we should have a date on there, or we can just arrange that now.
Are you available at the next meeting, John?
Sure.
It's Yom Kippur, I've been informed. You got any?
What are you looking at me?
No, I am looking at you. You're not going to be here.
I don't know, John's like with the mask on.
No, I think it's really not
No,
nice.
I won't be here. If it's Yom Kippur, I will not be here.
It's the 28th, Mr. Bennett. Okay?
I do have some,
See you then.
Okay, all done.
all right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, this goes back. Next. Written decisions, Scarlett, so we're not doing the written decision. So the second written decision is 408 FNL LLC, 408 First Neck Lane for driveway gates. Do we have those pieces of paper? Great, thank you. So these were sent by email. Did you read this? Mm-hmm. Okay, ready to vote on it then?
Yeah.
Motion to approve the application of 408 First Neck Lane for driveway gates.
So moved.
I need to have every person vote.
Second.
Aye.
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 You can't vote.
Oh, I don't, that's right, I wasn't here, sorry.
Next time.
Next, new driveway gates, historic, 430 Halsey. Oh, do you have, it's 430 Halsey Neck Lane. Is there anyone outside for that?
It should be seen.
Oh, it's CMF, that's right. Do you have the posting and mailing?
Yes, I do.
Great, I finally remembered to ask for it after how many years? It's the last thing on my mind. Like I want to hear the application. So no, it just needs to be in the front of the file.
I will put it in the file.
Okay, shoot. Wait, but could you put out the information so that the public can see it, please? Facing us, please.
Facing you or myself?
Yes, us. That's good.
430 Halsey Neck Lane is a flag drive property on Halsey Neck. There are existing brick posts on this property and actually existing gates. We're just installing an automated gate behind those, keeping the brick posts as is. Pretty much
Are the lights existing?
the lights are existing
Okay.
as well. Correct.
And you're keeping it?
I am keeping them.
Okay.
So what you see here, the two posts, the pair of posts and lights are existing. Behind that, I'm installing a smaller post, not seen from the street, that basically frames the new gate within its confines.
So it's just behind it, so it appears to be the piers of the...
Correct. On the plan, let's see. This is the plan for it, where you can see the
Oh.
new posts behind it. 7 foot wide each panel of the door, and the height of the door is 6'3" from the grade. It's As far as transparency, the upper portion is more than 50%, and the lower portion is slightly less than. Overall, it's 50% transparency. The spacing at the top is 2.5-inch separation versus 1.5-inch. You can see in the following page, actually, the numbers. And then the bottom portion, 2-inch and 4-inch. Centered on that. So, very. It is basically what you see here. As I said, you don't see any house from this location. It's a flag drive.
Will it be finished in the same dark gray as the
Same
current?
dark gray, correct. Same dark gray.
I was just curious why you're using AZAC. I know it's custom, but
The main reason for AZAC is that these gates, they hold water on, and when you make it out of wood, especially that they are all framed around the steel, so wood warps after all the joints open up. AZAC is more stable in that.
and if painted, will it be shiny or probably will not be as shiny?
It will not be. Actually, AZAC is not shiny. AZAC has a matte finish to it, and we're going to be matching exactly the color, the dark color of the existing gates and the
Okay.
existing post.
Yeah, I only asked because the color actually in the current gate kind of makes it disappears to a certain extent behind the posts.
Correct.
Great. Anybody got any objections?
No objections to this. I personally prefer the existing gate, but
Same here.
yeah, the client has their reasons, but they're not of any concern to me.
Motion to approve the application of...
Close for written
Oh, close the application for North Fifth LLC, 430 Halsey Neck Lane, driveway gates.
I move that we close.
Second?
Aye.
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 Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Next is, okay, great, Joseph Negri, 81 Halsey Street.
Good evening.
Hi,
How are y'all?
well, So this was the only thing you added to the file, is that correct?
It was. You had asked for the setback and the
Yes.
heights of
Very
the
helpful.
streets. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm so sorry. Ray Booth of McAlpin.
You look different with your mask on.
Don't we all? I know.
Everyone looks like nothing. I don't know who anybody is.
You had a hat, and I don't know anybody.
So, in looking at, so your house does appear to be, and the dotted line in here is the old house, is that correct?
Just above, so there's two lines. So the middle line shows the existing house, and then the bottom line will show the new house in its place. So this is the existing house, and this is the profile of the new house.
Oh. What? I'm sorry, I still don't understand. Point to that again.
Sure. So this is the existing house, and this is the new house.
Okay, great.
I can
Thank you.
circle them.
Okay. I somehow it skipped over that middle line,
Sorry, we should have
since they're all the same except for
noted.
yours.
I know, it's like, it's a little village there.
It is.
It's a little village.
So, do you have any more things to tell us?
Nothing more. I think you guys had wanted to study it in context with the existing streetscape, which made sense. I think you had wanted to look at the setback from the street as well as the height. And so this was an attempt to convey that. And I'm happy to walk through the drawings if we need to. Again, whatever's helpful.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, let me say my piece, and then, because there are pieces of my piece, which is that the individual aspects, each one separated, may not be objectionable. However, when I put the 2 or 3 together, that
The 2 or 3 what?
I'm going to come back.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to get to that. This is an issue where the whole is objectionable against the sum of its parts. So in this case, the setback, which if that were the only thing, maybe it would be okay. It's clearly to the house on the left and the right, it's further forward by, I think, a factor of 10 feet or so. Is it the closest to the street? No. There's a house to the right, which is closer, but that house is essentially a 1.5 level house, as you can see it on the diagram in the middle. Okay. So it has a very small presentation or massing to the street. And the same is true of the house 3 down, which is on the corner of Armand and Halsey. So the setback is problematic, but again, not terrible of and by itself. Then if we look at the middle, we see the scaling of the house. And you have 2 houses, 81 and 89, or 81 and 83, which are twin Victorian houses. And you can see that they occupy probably 30, maybe 40% at most of the front yard, of the frontage. And it's true for most of the other houses, with the exception of 101. But again, that's a 1.5-story house that's very, it's wider than it is tall. Then, if you look at the third drawing down, you see that the way the architecture and that cottagey slope extends the house such that it's wider than all the others and gives the appearance of being significantly wider. So when you take a house that's now a bit closer, a bit taller, and a bit wider, you have in its collective, in its sum, something that I think my judgment, would be disharmonious to that side of the street and represents a change that is disconcerting and aggressive.
From a massing standpoint, I believe that the width of the elevation has been softened, mitigated by the slope that presents something that is less than the overall mass. And the use of clipped corners with the roof, I think also mitigates the massing. I think the materials are quite good, and I think that the design is actually the window-to-wall ratio and the roof material and the thought taken, I think is commendable. The only thing that I found the first round, and I still am not quite sure, is the stacked window.
Which one, on the front elevation?
Yes, on the east elevation, on the front elevation. Yeah.
Yes, of course. This window here.
The big thing, yeah.
And that was to give, it was a double hung above and then a fixed at the bottom. That could be changed to be one window if that was more.
I think it would look better.
Yeah.
One window. I don't mind the size of it, but I think if it were one window, it would look better.
Make it more,
Yeah, because the
Okay.
stacking was sort of artificial.
okay.
So will it be
So a little more
smaller in
historically correct, too.
I
Yeah.
don't like, I don't like how big it is, even conjoined. Does it have to be that big? My big question is,
The
does
window,
it
I'm
have to
sorry.
be, you have it, I agree with Jeff in many ways, but I would feel better if this house were pushed back. Is there a reason why it's so far forward?
It was just to, if you look at the site plan, so there is a garage that's in the back of the house.
Is the site plan in this packet?
It is, yes,
The
ma'am.
last
I
page,
have the original packet.
the last page.
Yes, okay.
So this is the survey, and there is an actual rendered site plan in there, too.
It's on
But
18, I believe.
it was to just give room for the garage. The clients wanted this outdoor loggia attached to the garage as a destination off the house, and then the pool in between those. So it was taking advantage of, I'm sorry, that's the wrong, the proposed is here, yeah.
I actually think that you have room to move it back some.
So this is a situation that arises sometimes, that where I appreciate the client's desire for open space in the back, but that comes at the sacrifice of the residents on the street. So to the extent that there is space, and obviously there is, and it is a choice by the client and Ray representing the client, there's also a choice to move it back, and we have a choice to vote for it or against it. So, perhaps Ray is willing to move it back, which would mitigate some of my
Sure.
concerns, and obviously Susan's.
I just feel, if you look at this, you have a pretty imposing, in terms of everyone else, structure, and that you have pushed it, it is, there are others, but the combination, which is what he's talking about,
Sure.
and if there were a way to move it back,
Could we
10 feet.
take the average of what the street
No, we have to
offers?
do it by what we look, no, what we're talking about, okay, let's just start again. This house seems to me, imposing and out of character with the size of the other houses on this side of the street. And it presents itself also up close and personal. So if you were to take it back a little, it wouldn't seem so up close and personal, like on Woolley Street, for instance, where that house still, when you drive down the street, is just, it calls out to itself, and it shouldn't have been that far forward. And that's, these are neighborhood streets.
Sure.
And so on Woolley Street, it's really unfortunate that that happened, but if there is a choice here, I feel like I would be willing to say yes to the house, but not so, if it were not so imposing on the streetscape.
We can work to get that depth out.
I can
think
see,
there's some
I can
room.
see
We
some
can pull
space.
that outdoor loggia back. I think we can pull some of the space out of the pool. And
So if the house went back,
Well, to 10 feet as to be in line, because the use of an average in this
yeah,
case
it doesn't work.
is it's a false assumption that it's average. And by that I mean there's a difference between average, which is mean, and median. The median is the midpoint. The average is the high and the low, and you add it all. Sorry to be pedantic
Yes.
about this, but when you do that, since you have a house on the corner of Armand, which is, much
which
closer.
is the one on Armand? I'm sorry.
3 to the right facing.
111, thank you.
And then you have one to the far left that's at that
Stinky.
line.
Yeah.
You distort things. So the median would be what I would go for, but I wouldn't go for anything other than the 10 feet, which would
So,
make
I
it.
mean, personally, if you look at this, if you move it back 10 feet, it's a lot better. How's that? I mean, I don't think we have to be doing a
It's
lot of subtracting and adding and
It's as simple
dividing.
as that. Yeah.
I would think that that would at least, it's still big for this street, but it would at least, I think, not be so imposing and aggressive. Anyone else, Peter?
I'd be fine with it if it moved back 10 feet. I mean, the thing about the design is that, yes, it is wider, but the fattest part with the dormers is set back.
Yeah, the main body of the house is set back. There is the front, which is very narrow and meant to be cottage-like.
For that reason.
Which was the offering to the street. Can I ask, does it have to be exactly 10 feet?
No.
There's some math I've got to do.
Right.
That might
You
tell me.
need to- If you come back and show us something where you,
I can show you
don't
the
short shoot the
reason
bed, but
why.
let's
Just
try
because
to
some of
work.
it, like furniture plan on that porch and,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
room around, but-
again, Ray, let's not lose fact that this is a small lot. The fact that a client wants to put a lot of stuff in there,
sure.
okay, is not, it's of interest to us, but it's not concerned in terms of the visual.
I understand.
So work your math out.
I'm just trying
but
to accommodate my
What you're
client
hearing
and
from the
your
board is
concern.
10 feet back to keep it in line. So if you come back with 5 feet, you're going
Sure.
to meet up with
You're gonna get
objection.
I wouldn't do that.
If you come back
Okay.
at 7.5 feet, you're still going to meet up with objection. So make it 10 feet, make your life easier.
There's math I have to work.
okay,
So
okay,
I asked
exactly.
for you
That's
just to
fine.
understand I've got to.
Right.
Right, well, we're not telling you lop 10 feet off and, okay.
I mean,
We're not saying that
We'll do
either.
our best to
But
get as much
understand,
out
what
of it
I'm
as we
saying
can.
is there are choices. And as much as they have a choice to put it in, they also have a choice not to put it in.
And I don't know, from my experience, you want like a loggia area, and then it turns out it's way sunny, and you never go to that edge. But
Right.
anyway.
What do you want that for? Yeah.
Well, no, it's there. That could be worked with. I really do believe that.
We'll work
Do you have
with it.
anything to say, John?
Yeah, I think the house is fine. And, I think moving it back will deal with some of the, massing issues.
Massing.
The rear of the house is where I have some concern, especially with the second floor balcony.
How big is that balcony again? What's the width of it?
Let me see.
Here, I might be, are there numbers on these things?
I don't think I've got it scaled out on that.
Okay.
It's,
You told us once before, I just don't know what.
does anybody have a scale?
I do.
I'm so sorry.
Right here.
Thank you so much.
Always.
What?
Christy has a scale.
Yeah. Ta-da! She does too.
I know.
So it is 9.5 feet.
What, wide?
No, the depth. I'm
The
sorry.
depth, so what,
The depth,
you
the
can
width.
step out 9 feet from the side of the building?
From the
From the
porch,
indented side of the building?
from the master
Yeah.
to the outside is 9, it's actually 9 feet. Oh, I'm sorry, 10 feet.
It's a sofa.
10
So it's
feet.
about
the
10 by
width of-
20
yeah,
then in
so-
total, probably, right?
I'm sorry?
10 by 20, just looking at the dimensions of the illustration.
Yeah, it's wide.
7, no, I'm sorry,
And that's going to overlook the pool or?
19.
Or over the-
It is.
Wow, so it's big.
It'll be overlooking the neighbors' yards as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
These are
that's
very
not so
small
good.
lots, and the proximity to the
These are
neighbors, I think,
tight
is an issue.
areas. Do we have to, it really shouldn't be, we're not big on second floor decks for
There's no-
reasons they have, especially in these neighborhoods. You know, if there's 4 acres of land and you put like the beautiful cottage in the middle, which would be kind of fantastic, really, then it would be fine. But because there are neighbors tight on you, which there are,
Part of that was just the math with getting a dining table underneath it, too.
Underneath it.
that's fine. It's the going out on it that's some issue, but I see that, I don't know how you can have it and then not go out on it, other than to say there could be no doors, there has to be windows. Are they really going to go out there?
He wanted an outdoor second, if he's got company downstairs, he wanted a place that he could go outside. Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's unfortunately, Ray, that's exactly the issue when you're on small lots within eyesight of your neighbor, is that your client would be out there barbecuing and having a party, and the neighbor wants to have their privacy. So the very reason that your client is asking that is the reason why we so
Well,
often
I don't know that
reject
it has any bearing, but there was a house between it that has been torn down on this side that does offer a little bit more space on that
Yeah, but
side,
you
not
have
on
to-
this one.
You don't want, these people, I think, it's tight.
Yeah, look, we've been very consistent
Yeah, we have.
on privacy
These
issues,
steps.
and on small lots, and this is a small lot, with the side lots as they are, we haven't approved
Right.
decks this size.
Period.
And if they've been flat, then people have actually changed doors to windows, or they've created, I don't know, balusters that really have no function, if that's the right word, but
Don't you think that people have better things to do than spy on their neighbors?
No.
well, you know, it's
It comes up all the time.
you know,
Would you want it next to you? The answer is no.
I say that facetiously and rhetorically. But no, there are
Could I ask a
there are
question?
privacy issues, and
Could any of that be mitigated if we were to include some tall trees that would help offer screening and privacy?
in the past, screening has been acceptable in some cases. In some cases, I remember an application on Hunting Street where the person actually put a screen, a divide, on the house. So that, you're right. People aren't necessarily spying, but people in the neighborhood deserve privacy.
Any two-story
And as
house is
opposed
going
to-
to
A
offer
A terrace is a permanent structure. Trees and bushes live and die. I mean, let's think about the long term here, that it's still going to be an issue for both sides of that property, regardless of what the vegetation might be on as a block.
Question then, number 2. Could these be louvered so that offers you the privacy? Keep this center open, which would give him the vista to the pool.
Maybe those two sides.
The two
Two
sides?
side pieces?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just louver these
Oh, so that you can
so
only
that
see
you've got
back
visual
straight?
architectural privacy.
You can only look at the pool area and back.
It would just be this center opening. We'd close this up.
How would anyone feel about that?
I'm sorry, the louvers, there's a piece of louver on the side as well?
It would be, yes, sir, on the side here and on this front,
Side.
So the,
just for consistency, I would
sideline.
guess.
Again, it's going back to the precedent of second-story terraces in general. I mean, once this is approved, then it pretty much
Yeah.
opens the floodgate for any property in the village.
I agree.
Well, where,
Not if you're addressing the core issue.
Right,
if
with
it's,
with louvers.
Privacy and you address it, then it's been addressed.
if there's, the issue of privacy is to the side more than it is to the back. So to the extent that those, and the deck doesn't extend beyond the house, right?
Well, there is
It's
a-
essentially,
There is a dining,
Yeah, it's
Porch
built
underneath
out
it.
here.
let me see.
What, I get that people want to have, especially now, a cover over where they eat outside.
yeah.
I have a porch myself, and it's
Oh,
become
okay.
very handy.
Oh, let me just see this.
See,
Okay.
so this is a
Okay.
construct that's put on top, so this is, comes out.
Right.
But,
I see, right. So now that is a deck, and even if it's louvered top to bottom,
well, it's a covered porch, it's not a deck.
A covered porch,
There
yeah.
is some privacy from the structure itself.
yeah,
The way the roof is done.
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. And then if it was totally louvered on that side,
To mitigate at least the privacy on those sides.
To me, that answers it.
I think that's okay. The louvers, they
so that it's just a
solve the
straight shot
privacy
out the
issue,
back?
mitigate the
Yeah,
privacy.
so you can look over your pool.
Be a good place to nap.
Two chaises and and no mask.
Hopefully.
yeah, in terms of the line of sight, it would mitigate it. In terms of there being noise, I mean, there's going to be noise from the pool
Yeah. I
and all
don't
the
think that
stuff
we can, and
anyway.
the
I'm not
dining.
sure that,
We can't do much of that.
Okay, well, that's fairly persuasive to me, actually. What kind of lighting is on this top thing?
so,
Sorry?
Is there lighting on that deck?
We haven't even gotten that far.
Okay, well, I'd like to know.
so let me understand where we are on this. So.
He's going to come back with the
Coming
10
back
feet.
with a relocation of the house to address the massing, a reconfiguration of the front window to reduce its size. Is that what I understand? Okay. And presence. And then a treatment for the rear deck to accommodate privacy issues, which has some positive, but some concern on the board as well. So there are 3 issues to address.
Right. Okay.
Okay? Thank
Wanna
you,
adjourn?
guys.
So there will not be a full board the next time, so you might want to know that. Maybe
It's
not.
Rosh Hashanah, so the,
Yeah, I didn't make the calendar, so I don't want to,
So that's-
it's kind of embarrassing to me.
Okay.
So do you want to come back at our next meeting?
I
Would
do
you
want
like
to
to
come back.
skip
I
ahead?
just have to look at my schedule to see how that works, but definitely.
All right, so you're asking to adjourn till the 28th of September, and if you can't do that, you're going to send us
Yes,
a
ma'am.
letter, correct?
Yeah.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn till our next meeting.
so moved.
Second?
Aye?
Aye.
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 Thank you, guys.
Okay,
All right, everyone
Yeah.
stay well.
You too, Ray.
next. Dr. Min, 127 Toilsome Lane. State your name again, please.
Good evening, Jason Paremba, Jason Thomas Architect. The applicant, Robert Min. Okay, from the last meeting, we made the following adjustments. We removed all stone and stucco and replaced with cedar shingles with a light gray stain. All the columns are from cedar, the railings, everything's cedar on the house now, except for this, the railing down to the basement, the exterior access to the basement. There was a discussion on how the house felt sharp, and there was conversations about the eaves. And what I realized about the eaves and the adjacent properties is that the previous submittal didn't even have any overhangs, giving it a really severe, sharp feeling to it when you compare it to the
Right.
adjacent properties. So I think a big adjustment in the project was adding overhangs, more traditional overhangs, soffits, and fascias, rakes, to the house, which makes it tie in better to the adjacent properties and also takes away from that sharp feeling, the real expression of those volumes, as I had previously. As I mentioned, there was conversations that the eaves felt a bit too high, and that's true when you compare it to the adjacent properties. And when I put the overhangs back on, it ties in better to the overall massing of the adjacent properties and the forms of Toilsome Lane. I mentioned I eliminated any of the powder-coated material. I also added a freeze board along the center of the house, which you'd find in a lot of traditional homes, to kind of break up the verticality a bit more. You kind of see it mostly on the front, and I have the elevations within the drawings you have, but you'll see that freeze board, which is in cedar, continues around the whole house to kind of break up the vertical massing as well. We eliminated the white. There was concerns that the white was also too stark, so it's all this gray tone. This is a house I did in East Hampton Village, and you'll see when you do a semi-transparent stain on a shingle, but you use the same material solid, it's just a subtle difference. So this is a very similar freeze board that wraps the same color shingles. And a rendering can only go so far, but this is actually the proposed palette.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And then the windows and doors are about 25% darker than that. But you can see it's definitely more subtle than what that shows sometimes, the renderings.
Well, I think the board appreciates this change, I will tell
Thank you. Yeah,
Yes,
thank
we
you.
do.
I also, it may be subtle, I reduced the amount of windows on the front, and I also scaled them down. You could see in the previous rendering, like the lower windows were below the bushes. They've been raised. The upper windows went from 3 to 2, which matches the house to the west. And we eliminated, there's only 2 windows now in the upper portion. We decreased the windows across the whole front. And I made the front door solid. The front door was glass previously, and the front door is solid. And it's the same kind of medium gray. It's like this, like you see here. It's the same color that you see here.
In the drawings, you're still showing 3 windows on the
Yes, sir. So so over the weekend, my client had emailed me, and there's a few discrepancies because I tried to make this next meeting. So there's actually a couple notes in there that even though it's all shingled, says like board and batten. That's not our intent. I revised all those drawings. I have them here if you want. I can give copies for this evening. But it's absolutely our intent to have 2 windows, to have a completely cedar house with cedar shingles. It's just,
So,
when you look at the drawings for now, this is the 3rd submission, there's a couple stray notes where it says stucco, but it's not. There's no stucco in this house whatsoever. And I've made all those changes, and I have enough sets for everybody if it was an issue or a condition tonight.
we actually have to get them stamped into the file.
Sure. Yep.
You know.
I brought them to the building department this morning, and they said to bring them tonight. So
Really?
yes.
Great.
Could I ask a question about the windows? I couldn't tell whether these were the equivalent of pencil lines or whether they're multi-pane windows, and are they snap-ins or what?
Yeah, no, so these are the Marvin Elevate, so it used to be the Marvin Integrities, they call it now the Elevate, but it's a simulated divided light, and in real life it should read like this, read like, I can see it on TV, but it should read like the drawings, like a 5/8 thick, simulated divided light. It's not a true divided light, but yes, these all have panes, and you can read the panes very strongly in the elevation. You'll see. I'll get this for you, Mr. Styler. I promise. There you go. So you can see the intention of our panes is shown on our elevations. It's just what happens, I think, when they render it out, they got a bit translucent.
Thin.
Yes. But it's this, it's the standard Marvin windows you guys have seen many times in this board.
All right. in that file, do you have the stamped?
In the whole thing?
Yeah. Where is this, the big, is there a big set of this in there?
We gave, we submitted
And this?
smaller copies and larger
And
copies.
so in the big set, this isn't in there?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So somehow, so the problem is, when push comes to shove, we actually have to have 2 sets of big plans that are complete and correct, stamped into the building department in order for this to go through.
Okay.
So how's that going to work?
Could we approve subject to?
Okay, but I mean really and truly, so that the
Yeah, I
chief...
mean, I'm a rule follower by nature,
Okay.
so I'll have it tomorrow morning.
So, well, we're not quite to that point. I noticed there is a roof deck. What's the roof deck?
No, so actually,
What was that?
in an older meeting on the rear of the house, we had a roof
Yeah,
deck.
so I found that. Oh, I have the old,
So that's one of the original submissions you have. So it's, if you look at the rear elevation, the deck, and I heard your previous meeting, we've been through, we're a couple ahead of the guy who was just here, but
yeah.
there's no more roof deck.
Lots of people have a learning experience. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's
There's no more
good.
Roof deck, no more railings, and
And how about, okay, so the front deck,
Right, that's mislabeled in the front?
yeah, somewhere I have, well,
It is, so
these are
when
the new. Wait,
yeah, so
wait.
when you, so on the front, when you, so let me explain it this way. So when you, this drawing, this project went out to bid. So when you describe it to a builder, it's called a roof deck because it's built the same, meaning it has an EPDM build up, but there's no accessibility to here.
Okay.
Windows.
How about the front? I like the railing in the front. I think it softens the linear.
I agree.
Okay, how big is this? Not that they could really,
And the railing is only, I made it smaller, it's 28 inches, I believe.
oh, so you can't go out there, isn't it?
No, and the
36? It has
windows
to
are
be
up.
Legal?
No, it's part of that whole
Okay, never mind.
massing, you know, allowing to
So
have
it's
break up
not
the massing.
something you go out on, correct?
No.
Because it's illegal if it's got 28
Exactly,
inches.
exactly.
Okay. Any, well,
Well, I think it's way better. The materials, you know, what difference a shingle makes. Thank you.
It's true, right?
and the overhang.
It fits so much better. I have an architectural quibble, you know, as I would, which is the second floor projection that is over the porch. It really bothers me that that projection does not carry through to the first floor.
It's
The
not,
gable end pack out, you mean?
it's not carried on anything.
See, in many of the traditional homes I've done, there would be brackets under there, there would be, so it's a bit of a more contemporary interpretation of that gable end pack out. You'd even see that in old traditional homes, they would just have a simple piece of trim underneath it. It doesn't even need the brackets typically.
But I mean, no, I mean this.
Oh, running through, yeah. I, you know, that's just more square footage. We'd be over the square footage if I think.
I mean, you know, it'll be like, you know, 10 square feet or something, you know, if it lined up with the one upstairs. I don't know how your areas are.
Yeah, it's also, you know, shadow, right? You probably won't even read that in real
No,
life. the way those
you know,
are.
I acknowledge that this is something that perhaps architects only pick up.
Yeah. I think instinctively,
Well, to the back of the
you're
house,
trying
it's
to
not really
make it
relevant.
complete, no, I'm not saying this, but you're making it very symmetrical, and I like the bit of the asymmetry.
No, I like it. I like that it doesn't come out as far. I like that the windows are different.
Yeah.
No, that isn't bad.
think that's
That's fine. It's just, you know, when it looks like the extension is just sitting on top of the porch instead of the porch being attached to the house.
None of this is visible from the street, correct?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the street.
Well, it's
This is the
below,
front.
it's below the,
It's a
I thought
street
you were
elevation.
looking at the back of it.
he's right, there's 5 to 6 feet of the, what's the existing hedge there that we're creating? It's not even hedge, it's Samantha's.
We can't do with the cover-up.
I understand,
building.
asking
Okay.
this question. I
Things
realize that
can
you have to
come
plan
and
if there's
go.
no planting there. I
Yeah.
understand that.
No, it's just, we're really talking about the building. You can't hide the building from us.
I understand that.
Okay. So what is the beef here? Does anyone else? I see what you're saying, but
The corner is sitting on top of the glass. It drives me nuts, but, you know.
It's a design, so that's like an architectural, like you said, a quibble. I think you said it best. That's
a quibble?
subjective, you know, I mean, it's,
I see
Well,
what
you know,
you're,
it's also, there's a
It
tradition.
should come all the way through.
yeah. So from my perspective, it took a while to get here, but I think I hope, pleased your client. And I feel that it's an acceptable sort of modern take on a shingle house in a tight formation in this particular area.
I have no objections.
But others, so I'd be willing to say,
No objections here.
well, that's 3. You guys? I heard your quibble, but I don't think it's going to be happening. So if you were able, you can't issue a building permit until we get the plans really straightened out, because those are the legal documents, which I
Yeah, I'll have them done. They're already done, yeah, so it's easy.
So we need the big plans all complete with no boo-boos.
10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Oh, it doesn't have to be, but,
Yeah, now they're open at 9.
yeah. Oh, now they're open actually more, which is from 9 to 4, I believe.
They'll be there tomorrow.
So do I have a motion to approve the application of Robert Min, 127 Toilsome Lane?
I would add to that, as per the testimony and recitals of this meeting, subject to the submission of large-scale drawings to
Complete
the
large-scale
building- to the
plans.
building department this week, or, okay.
Well,
Agreed.
there-
It doesn't matter.
permit's
I'm in
not
agreement with
coming.
It's subject to.
Must
Is that sufficiently detailed?
provide
Perfection.
Oh,
complete,
Perfection, I don't need.
so it's 2 sets, right?
Yes.
2 sets. Great. Well,
Okay.
it wasn't simple, but it got done.
So wait,
Jason.
working with you guys.
So we had a motion, but we haven't,
Okay,
so we
well-
haven't voted on it.
Oh, it's second?
Second.
Aye.
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 No.
Okay,
4-1.
next.
Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate
Jason,
it.
good stuff.
So much better.
Yeah.
Yes. David Silvers, 170 Halsey Street, partial enclosure of front porch. We were missing, is this the one? Yes,
There's nothing in the file.
we don't have,
But we need affidavits on this one, right?
we need an affidavit of posting and mailing. Do you have that?
Everything should have been dropped off today.
We're not the people who do it.
So,
Okay, we'll just check the file.
just check the file, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to be handling this.
Yeah.
David Silver was one, the architect, and they asked if I could come on their behalf tonight.
Yeah, we got
I'll be
you.
here.
We got you.
It says this was put in
In
today.
fact, they were here last time.
These were put in,
Tried coming into the front door.
no, yes, that was just, here are
Did we
the,
already get jurisdiction on this one?
no. The person didn't know how to get in the building, so we had to dismiss it. Nothing happened last time.
Oh, okay, all right. I thought,
And the person I then bumped into, the owner, I believe, and she said she didn't know to come around to the back and there wasn't a sign on the door, and I apologized for that. So it's not her fault, and here we are. But I don't think, these look old.
Unless you're in the back.
It's
Maybe. Hang on.
There's a bit of an irony here in that because I live in the proximity, I was on the mailing list, and they sent out more than just the notice. They sent
We
out
have it.
oh, good. They sent out the diagrams, which gave people a chance to actually see what they intended to do.
Sir, can you please just tell us your name for the record?
My name is Chris Profetta,
What's that?
And you are?
the architect.
Okay, great. So wait, now I have his small sets, but I have to just, give me a moment, please.
Good, well, that's good.
Do you have the new stuff?
And that you need Chris's spelling of his name?
I only have this.
Oh, here it is. Okay, so here are you brought these small sets tonight because who knows what, but we were giving you a pass because of she didn't know where to go. How about,
Sorry to hover.
I need one. Do you need one?
Alice, you want one?
Yes,
Okay. And
as long as there's enough.
Yeah, that's fine. I looked at the file before, I know what they're doing, I'm familiar with the house. Okay, here you go.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, no, this is just the... Okay. Want to tell us about the proposal, please?
Sure. What they are proposing is,
Needs to be turned around. Thank you. It's counterintuitive.
no problem. What we have here is the existing first floor plan, and here is the proposed floor plan. What they are proposing to do is cover a portion of an existing front porch, which is covered, and make it a new entranceway. The design brings the extent of this addition to the edge of the existing deck, so we won't be encroaching on any other of the front yard. We're just going to stay within the boundaries where the deck is. In doing that, what the Silvers wanted was to have the entrance come off the side of the porch by where the driveway is. They do have existing stairs that are here now, and they'd like to come up the driveway here and utilize those stairs to come in the entrance this way. On this page here, we have the existing front elevation and the proposed front elevation, as well as the section. And what we were trying to do is maintain the front of this house to still give it the same character as it would if it still had a front door there. Without having a landing and a stair to do that, we actually couldn't have the door there, but we replaced the door with windows.
Well, it turns out, I was discussing this with the building department, and you could actually extend the stairs out without encroaching.
Right.
Do you know that rule?
I do. This is something
Okay.
that they wanted to do, but if...
Okay, well, I'm giving you just,
Okay.
just in case.
Okay.
How's that?
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Because I was, we were going over it. So, from my perspective, what you've done is, like, I think that you need to be able to see the front door of a house. That you've made it just a series of windows, which is very confusing from driving down the street. I just don't understand how that's, I understand, I mean, I don't know.
I think it's odd looking. You know, I think it's odd looking.
Me too. Find me another one. There aren't any. Why? I don't understand why that would, I understand they want to get out of the car and come in the side. But if you're driving down the street or you live in this neighborhood, they have a house that has some weird window placement now coming out from the covered porch already. I find this to be a really kind of a conundrum, but I don't understand the purpose in a sense, and I certainly don't understand, and I'm certainly not in favor of having no point of entry visible from the street in a neighborhood where I bet you that you can see the front door at every possible street. I've never heard of such a thing in a funny way. It just seems so out of character with the neighborhood and a actual house that presents to the street, front-wise. I don't know. I mean, you can try to defend it. Anybody else?
The portion of the porch to the north of what you're proposing, that would just be decorative then, because it doesn't really serve a
That
purpose.
gets totally cut off. It
So
absolutely.
that's also kind of unwise to me, just unadvisable in terms of, it makes no sense to me. And visually, I think it's a mistake.
I agree with you, Susan.
I don't know how else to say it. It's like it doesn't belong there the way it is.
It's such a small change, but it kind of changes
Ruins
the
it.
character a lot.
Yeah, but it's a small house too, so it's not such a small change.
Well, then just enclosing, 30 square feet or whatever.
Yeah. Isn't there a better way to do this?
Well, the better way to do it, I believe, would just be to continue
the
the
whole
door right
porch.
where it was. Well, you can enclose the whole porch. That's not something that they wanted to do. Other options that were explored were having the front porch extended out, having the door basically pushed out to that boundary,
And having the steps
and then just
go
having
out
the
8
steps
feet?
going out that way. And that would be the simplest thing to do. Once you start changing the roof line that's on either side of that, it starts getting a little weird because the roof already comes down and has a curve to it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
We don't want you to
it's-
do that.
It's very difficult to have to tie into that and extend it, because we very easily could have just extended the porch out on either side
Mm-hmm.
and the front if you wanted to have like a traditional front porch
Mm-hmm.
with that entrance. The entrance from the side is something that the Silvers preferred. That was not my recommendation by any means.
Well, if you...
You could have 2 doors, nothing.
Well, I gave them that option as well.
Yeah, they could have 2 doors.
I gave them that option. We've been down that road already.
And they said,
And what's the, they don't want that?
They did not like that option.
We don't
They did
like
not
it without it.
So what are we trying to accomplish? Or maybe forget about that.
That's about what goes on.
What were you saying is you would bump out the front entrance by a few feet? Or you're saying extending
Now,
the
we would
entire
take
porch?
Closing
this
it off.
door and then just put it here. So the front door right now is here, and
Yeah.
that also creates a little bit of, not issues, but little quirkiness from the inside, because right now they have this. This here is a supportive column from a header that's running across here and supporting the second floor.
yeah.
So centering this door on this new addition is the only thing that is going to make sense aesthetically from the outside, which sets it off from here. Even if you were to open up that entire thing, it's still a little bit off center. So there's going to be a little bit of quirkiness to that, and I don't recall if they were really hung up on that or not, but coming up from the driveway was something that they preferred. Quite frankly, I believe the door should be going here with
Yeah.
stairs out the front, like any traditional
Yeah.
entry.
Yes.
Okay, good. I just, I don't know.
I understand that totally. It's,
If
I
they
gave
wanted to
them,
come in on the side, there's probably a way to have 2 doors. The
well,
side
there
when you
there
get out of your
is, there is, and
car,
I've
There
I've
is.
done
and the
that.
other part when your guests come and ring the doorbell for
They ring
Thanksgiving.
the doorbell.
Right,
I totally understand, and I did
so
give them
that's
that
where I'm
option.
coming from.
Two doors, if it will satisfy.
So somebody's going to have to come back, because we can't say yes to this, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Okay, so could you go talk to your client, and would you like to
Absolutely.
come back next time?
I will, absolutely.
Next time is Yom Kippur, so if that's a problem, you come to the one a month from now. You can decide. You want to just put it
What would the
on?
date be?
28th.
The 28th of September.
And we won't have a full
Okay.
board at that point because it's a holiday.
No, you can put me on for that.
Okay. Motion to approve applicant's request and adjourn until our next meeting on the 28th of September. Aye.
Aye?
Great. Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Next,
Thank you.
31 Roscoe Developers LLC, 31 Roscoe Drive, construct 2-story single-family dwelling and detached garage. Posting and mailing. Okay, thank you. So,
This is...
Posting in there.
so Alice, is this okay, this number of people? Okay,
There's the affidavit.
so this is the posting and mailing?
Wait a minute, it's supposed to go in here.
Oh, put that away. What is this?
That's the,
So just be careful of the mic. Just be careful of the microphone. Somebody's on the mic.
Where's
Sorry, is that on the desk? You got it? Okay.
Pat.
Oh, okay.
Good job, Pat.
Sorry, let's see.
All right,
Good evening,
Are
Board.
the affidavits in order?
yes.
yeah.
My name is
Oh,
Bill
wait,
Slight.
is this the one that where we don't have the,
Yeah, we're missing.
We're missing an affidavit of the LLC. It's not filled out properly.
I just need that remedy.
No, it was sitting out.
I don't, first I'm hearing of it, so,
Well,
There's a
sorry.
disclosure affidavit.
This.
yes.
Are
It's not filled out in the way, it's not filled out. We need the names of the LLC member.
Is anybody here a GP for the LLC?
I'm the manager.
If he's the manager, could they go a second call, fill it out, and we'll do a second call?
I
What do
think
you
he
say?
can fill it out. We have jurisdiction.
You are a manager of the LLC?
I am.
Does it have to be notarized or anything like that?
It's already notarized.
Okay.
Lying is not going to be accepted, right?
Problem, we'll have to review it.
Okay. Is this the folder for here?
Seth.
He prepared it, so it's fine. He can change it.
He did?
He did. So
Okay.
you can make whatever edits.
Okay, Mr. Slate, then you can go ahead while he does his paperwork.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, good evening. My name's Bill Slight. I'm the architect for the project, 31 Roscoe Drive. This is a new residence. We propose to remove the existing one-story residence. This will be a two-story building. It's a modified Craftsman design. They'll be rendered with cedar shingles, cedar roof, white trim, divided light windows. The property will have a single driveway with parking to satisfy the parking requirements for the number of bedrooms in the home. Also, there's a detached two-car garage, the entrance to which does not face the road but faces the side property line.
The purpose of this disclosure is to let the municipality know that we need to fill this Yeah, so it's just you.
On the site plan, I can't, since we don't, is this house, in terms of the setback from the street, does it come farther forward than the neighboring, this is on a corner, from the neighbor to the east, I guess,
No, be to the north.
to the north?
I don't know. I don't know what the setback on the neighbor's property is.
Or does
This
it look to you like?
this setback is the setback that's required by the village.
Yes,
code.
that's not what I asked you. I asked you about the neighboring property.
I'm sorry.
You don't know?
I don't.
Okay, that's an honest answer, thank you. Who wants to, do you have anybody?
I have a question on the, unless I'm looking at the wrong way, the rendering of the back of the house with that, the balcony doesn't match the drawing. It's like an L-shaped balcony on the drawing they have on A102, but the rendering looks as though it's just a space outside of the...
Yes, I agree. I think the renderer made a mistake. They didn't show the return wall, at that corner.
So then the balcony will extend past the...
The balcony is as shown in the plan. It's an L shape.
Right, okay.
Do you have those pictures?
Fortunately, we don't
You
build the
hold that
houses
up, John, and point it out
we don't
to
build
us.
the house from the rendering. We build the house from the plans.
Well, he was, John is starting from the back,
Do you have, yeah,
so his question is
This
on
is
the
the back.
back.
What is he asking? This?
The extension of the balcony?
The second floor, well,
Little thing?
right, on the plan, the drawings, it's an L-shaped balcony. On that, it's just that portion outside of the,
It sits on the roof?
So let me start with the front, and then maybe my friends to the left can chime in. So you define this bill as a modified craftsman design, and I'm not an architect, but as a layman, modified is perhaps should be capitalized. And I don't say that in a bad way, but so the first thing I noticed when I was looking at your drawings, as opposed to the renderings, is the angular shape, almost cathedral shape of the front facade.
Battered profile.
What's that?
Battered profile.
Thank you. Okay. So that strikes me as not consistent with a Southampton traditional house. Then we have a floor to roof, not roof line, but floor to eave window dressing, window, which is also highly unusual, and we rarely approve that. And when we did to one house on Hunting Street, I think the board, at least this board member, when they actually saw the result, was sorry, although I objected to that as well. The execution of that was harmonious. With that neighborhood, and it surely does in this neighborhood. Now, this neighborhood is an issue of and by itself in the transition from a lot of modest houses to larger houses, but even the larger houses are far more traditional than this house. And so, at least just for the front for the moment, then I'll pass it on to my other board members, is those two items, what did you call it again?
Battered profile?
Battered profile.
Usually for the Egyptian revival.
Okay, thank you. And the expansive window treatment. And then that on top of a lot of little, I'll call them knickknacks, or the buttresses here and on the
Braces.
garage. All the stuff, there's just a lot of stuff going on that take this away from a more traditional Southampton house in an area where the houses that are being built have a more traditional look. And that's my piece for the moment.
I agree. I think the house in general doesn't look residential to me. It looks very commercial in its presence, and even including the parking spaces adjacent to the house. It looks as though it's an office park. Seriously, it just doesn't appeal to me.
It struck me as a firehouse.
Well, I think it's too monumental. I mean, it's a tower element, and it really reads like a tower. It breaks the eave line, the frieze board is way overscaled, and the window is monumental. It's just not domestic. It's more like a public building or a commercial building. I think that center portion. So I don't think it's not domestic. It's not domestically scaled, in my opinion.
I have to agree.
I agree.
I have a similarly styled house that the board approved. It's on Bellows Court. It has a similar two-story stacked window arrangement, regressed from the facade of the building. It has hipped roofs. It has a similar expression as far as this main element goes. The board was very happy with it. In fact, the board complimented me on the design when I presented it.
We're talking about here and now and in a different place.
Yeah, and I'm defending what I've done. The elements that you talk about the bracketing, that's a reference to the Craftsman style. It is certainly within keeping within that vocabulary. You can find numerous examples of that, and there are numerous examples of Craftsman style houses throughout this village.
Not with this monumental scale. And that frieze is enormous. I've never seen a frieze that large in my life.
Well,
On a house of
just
this
because
size.
you haven't seen it doesn't mean it's improper or there's anything wrong with it.
But I-
It is, you know.
So, excuse me.
I find it- I find it-
Bickering is not happening anymore.
I find it monumental and not domestically scaled.
All right, well, very good, but I think that you're a bit ill-informed about architectural styles.
Okay,
think so.
really?
And
I
about
don't think we
proportions.
should be having, could we talk about the
I have
building
to
and not about the
disagree with you,
person?
but-
Ad hominem
No.
attacks on members of the board is not
I have to
acceptable,
disagree, but I'm
Mr.
not going to
Slight.
fight. And let me say something else that looks odd, which is in the back elevation, why you are expressing the master bathroom as the star of the show with the higher, breaking the eve line, and again, making a sort of tower dormer.
Well, how do you know it's the master bathroom?
Because it says so in the plan.
Yes, but this board is not supposed to consider the interior of the house. You're not supposed to, you have no...
Okay, I'm
you
going
have
to
no-
close this down.
You
If
are
we-
not,
Mr.
you have
Slight,
no
if you
jurisdiction to
continue-
question the plan of the
Fine, we don't
interior
like
of the
that.
house.
Not one of us is
All right?
accepting that window.
So whatever
You gotta
kinds of
stop
windows
this.
we happen to have in the bathroom has nothing to do with
I'm sorry.
with the house.
I'm going to close this down if you don't have
And if
a
we
better
just-
attitude toward us and no ad hominem attacks.
I'm not getting a very good attitude from you.
No, and
Okay,
before...
motion to close this meeting.
Well, let's address.
I second that.
We're going to close. We are not going to put up with this. So either you can tone down your act and be nice to us and tell us about the building, and
There's a
if we
motion on the
object,
floor to close.
I'm willing to hold off if he's willing, but we can always,
I will calm down.
Bill, now, let me say one thing. We look at the houses. We don't look at the architect. We don't look at you. We look at the house. So I realize you spent a lot of time on this. And I realize any comment, in whatever tone it may be given, may be taken personally. It's not meant to be so. However, if you react personally, we're not going to condone that. So if you need to take 30 seconds to clear your head, do so. But I will not tolerate it. All right, Bill?
All right, I'm...
Okay, so let's talk about
So
the
what
design.
I would ask that...
Well, hold on one second.
That
Let
as
me
the
finish,
board...
Bill, let me
Certainly.
finish. So when we talk about the design, think about what we're saying. Okay? It presents itself as monumental is the term. Granted, it's a design you like. Gentlemen, read into what people are saying, and perhaps come back with something. Rather than fighting, come back with a design that works. I know you gentlemen have done this process before. And we've had you come back several times and you said, you know what? We've come back with a better house. So let's have that.
Well,
We
you're
have a
an architectural
responsibility to the
board.
community
no,
as
this
well
is,
as to
you're,
enhancing
either
development.
you talk about your building or I'm closing the meeting.
All right, I'll talk about the building. The building...
Good, that's what
the
you're
building-
here for.
The building's elements are absolutely consistent with the style that is the antecedent for this building. And if there's elements of this that you wish to challenge, your challenge has to come in a way that shows that it is not part of the vocabulary of that particular style.
Our challenge, excuse me, our challenge is that there are 5 of us. We decide what we think is appropriate for the neighborhood and what materials are appropriate. That is our charge. It is not to address what you say is a certain style. So if that bothers you, then I don't know what we're going to do.
Okay.
But
No, I know. I'm asking for some help. If you feel
we are not designing your
there's some-
house. I would tell you, Mr. Slight, I don't think there's one yes vote for this particular project, not one. That people, and there are, so I would suggest that you listen to the notion of monumental, which I think defines this particular project. Aggressive would be another choice of words that I would use on the front.
Not residential
Not residential.
in scale.
And there, honestly, it's even if we liked it, there's so much clutter in the brackets, different mullions, windows, the garage, everything is way over the top, complicated, and there are different windows in the back, many different kinds. Very confusing and unsettling to me in terms of style and acceptability. So, I would There are people who want to come and comment on the public is here.
Well, you haven't given me a whole lot of direction
We
other
are
than...
not here to give you
other
direction,
than
except we've
your
told you.
opinion that you don't like it.
No, that's not true.
I objected to the tower breaking through the eave, so I'm not...
That's a common, architectural...
Okay, this has got it. What can we do?
Well, wait, I'm here, I'm an architect, okay? You asked me a question about how an element is handled. I'm telling you that's an element an element that's handled in that way numerous times, and I can show you examples of it.
No houses nearby have such a monumental tower in the center.
So perhaps I can clear out what the responsibility of the board is. It's not to discuss architectural style from the standpoint of what is the vernacular, what isn't the vernacular, and whether it's on the far side of town or the near side of town. Let me read you from 11633, Duties of the Board. The board is charged with the duty of exercising sound judgment, so it's judgment built, and of rejecting plans which, in its opinion, are not of harmonious character because of proposed style, materials, mass, line, color, detail, or placement upon the property or in relation to the spaces between buildings or natural character. So it's not a discussion of whether this is cottage or not cottage or whether the windows are vernacular or not. It's about this, okay, which is our jurisdiction to use our judgment to determine whether something is harmonious in that neighborhood. So what the board is telling you is that its scaling is such that it appears monumental in scale, less residential than its neighbors, okay? And there are things you can do. We can't sit here, and we will not sit here, and say the window should be this, that, or the other thing. That's not our objective. So I could only ask you to listen to what everybody is saying, absorb it, and come back with something that might work for you and your clients.
Okay, may I have the floor?
If Bill is your architect.
Your name for the record, please. when you come up.
Please state your name for the record and come forward, please.
Seth A.
name?
Seth A. Miller.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you to clearly enumerate these objections. I mean, we've had a lot of talk.
No, I'm sorry, sir, we've made our objections.
I'm not sure. So what's not literally understandable that the window is monumental in scale.
Okay.
That it goes from ground to eave. Okay, so that's one objection.
Okay.
Okay.
Creating a tower-like.
It is a tower.
It is a
It's just
tower.
jammed onto the front of the
The
house.
tower, the battered roofs, the ornamentation. Okay. Ornamentation. We haven't gotten to the garage.
The windows in the back
Heavily ornated.
are a helter-skelter, a million different styles and kinds, probably too many of them. The railing, I mean, there are a million, it has to be redone. There just isn't a lot to say that we like, is
So,
there?
Seth, Bill's a good architect, I know that. Really bright man, I'm sure that's the case. So you've got 5 fingers on here, maybe there's 4 that are holding up the suggestions or issues that the board has. You also can drive around the neighborhood and you can see the houses that have been approved. You don't have to build one identical to it, but to the extent you can take those objections in mind, look at the surrounding houses, and then use your judgment with your architect to work a design. We can't do that. I'm not an architect, I'm a layman. One of my board members is, but we're not an architect. We can't do that. That's not our purview.
Okay, but I just want to get a complete list.
No, there is no complete list. We're not rebuilding your house or telling you what to do. We're telling you it's monumental. I mean, if you strip out we can't take individual pieces and take it away from your house, because then that will be a problem. So what we're saying to you is the overall look is not residential. I think that's a real tell. That's already.
Right.
And then the front and the back on the main section of the house, there are elements, the tower-like in the front, and in the back there's also a similar build-out that is, I feel, aggressive on the top, what we called the bathroom window. There are also many window styles that I find to be objectionable on the back of the house.
And I heard somebody mention the garage, but that wasn't
Yeah, the
followed up on.
garage, I think, is, frankly, the cupola and the
So now,
sailboat.
Seth is bringing up a good point from the standpoint. We've only spoken about the facade. Right, let's continue without the heated debate
Yep.
of architectural critiquing. And let's look at some of those other elements, because you mentioned the fenestration, you mentioned the garage. So let's go through that so that Bill and Seth can go back, and we're not designing the house, but just understand that there are a few more issues beyond the four.
Oh, but I think I said what I need to say about the windows.
Well, I'm not sure that
Well, let's make
Seth,
sure all the board members have
Okay.
They've said what they need to say.
so I'm going to be quiet.
Peter?
Well, I've already said what I think about the tower elements. As far as the fenestration on the rear, I think your doors could be improved if they had the same 6 lights that the windows have adjacent, just to make it more continuous. You've got 6 over 1 on the windows, and then 4 over 1.
Different, 4 and 3.
I think if you had a double row of mullions at the top, it would be more harmonious. It would.
Double row,
You got 6 lights at the top of the windows.
Yes, 6 and 4, yes,
let's
you
put
do.
6 or 8 lights, depending on how many lights are in the window, how wide the light is. I'm suggesting perhaps 6 or 8 lights, a double row of lights at the doors as well, so that you have the same horizontal line going across.
Consistency
And I think
would
that
be a step in the right direction.
I think that would help.
But then above, on the second floor, there's,
Going on the second
okay,
floor,
fine.
I don't understand architecturally why that thing is sticking up in the middle.
Which thing?
And again, if
Referring to this?
yes, and again, if those windows were if you didn't have that, I mean, you can have a projection, but if you didn't have it break the eave, I think it would be a lot better looking. And I think if the windows, again, if these windows were the same size, same height as the ones flanking, then it would also be more harmonious. The side elevations are better. I do have, looking at the rear elevation, the balcony. I think it's clumsy the way it extends beyond the hip of the roof on the right side. The balcony sails beyond the hip ridge. That's,
well, it's a second floor balcony.
You mean-
How big is it?
You mean this?
yeah, on the yes, it's well, the elevation is different from that. So I'm looking at the elevation. That one looks okay. That's resolved properly. But this one, in the elevation, you can see that there's a
small
little
one.
triangle of wall.
The rendering's not correct.
The
It's
rendering
not
is,
correct.
rendering
I'm
is
looking at the
different.
elevation.
Can you see
The
that?
end of the railing would be better, I believe, if it coincided with the hip bridge.
Building.
Can I just stop you for a second? There's a record of this proceeding
Yeah,
I'm going to be
you
able
can-
to get?
Videotape.
Okay.
The videotape.
Okay.
But sir, we basically,
I'm just
And
looking
there's
at-
I just want to, because I'm not taking notes, that's why I'm
Yeah, yeah.
asking.
Seth, there's
I mean,
no
you
text.
asked for specifics, so I'm doing that.
I appreciate that. No, I'm just asking, I want to make sure that I remember it all.
Yeah. I think that covers my objections to the front and the back, and I guess we're not going on to the garage yet. But the garage is, you've got so much stuff going on. This is the accessory building. This should be simpler than the house, and if anything, it's more elaborate.
I don't understand the relationship of the design between the garage and the house.
I don't either.
Yeah, there's a general need for simplicity on the garage, between the cupola, the ornamentation,
the rounded
the
demi
rounded
lid.
windows on the east
Ground floor.
elevation. Yeah,
It's like the same amount of stuff in the house, but it's compressed, so it's busier in a way.
I think
it's busier.
one message, Seth, that I'm picking up
Simplicity?
is simplicity.
I would like it simpler, from my point of view.
I think we all feel that it's busy, and it's busy and monumental.
Yes.
How about that? That really defines my objections. I also wondered, but I don't have a plan that shows if it's pushed forward, how it sits with on the block.
Oh, you mean like with the
Survey.
context?
Well, I have
No,
a
there's-
survey, but it's just of that piece of property. That doesn't really help.
There's nothing in context, so it's like, it's from the,
Site plan was drawn.
it's like the wheat fields of Kansas.
The site plan
It's
doesn't
difficult.
show any
No,
neighbors.
those are the adjacent buildings.
We're very concerned about the neighboring, the pushback, setback. So here is the site plan, but it is a no,
Nothing
it doesn't
adjacent.
tell us what's
We need a
beside.
context plan of the buildings on each side.
Yeah, we do need that. 2 and 2. Anything else?
The setback is the building code of Southampton.
We know that.
We know that. You've told us that twice now. We know that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what going down the street is your house sticking out way out in front.
No, it's not.
There was a similar exercise done on Halsey Street that shows how the building looks in context, whether it's set back as far as its neighbors, whether,
We're coming to some resolution with them
and
as
we're
a
coming
result.
to, because it's an idea of showing in context, basically, because we have no idea. I mean, I've
What
driven
the
it.
standard is the setback of
Okay,
the zoning
we're getting
setback.
no, just give it
For
up.
the zone.
No, it isn't.
No, it's
Yes,
not.
it is, and as time goes on,
Context includes
as
the neighboring
buildings are
properties.
built,
I'm
they are
sorry.
built to the setback that is given.
No,
Now,
I'm
there-
sorry,
in the past,
Okay, just don't argue with them because we're getting nowhere. I'm done with that.
I disagree that I think that the context is very important.
give
And we
this to
actually
Mr.
use that too
No.
in our decision making. And we don't have the context, so we can't decide.
All right.
There are two new buildings that have been constructed recently, one on Halsey and one on Toilsome. And the architect showed the new construction in context with the setbacks and the massing so that there was a better idea of not only the neighborhood, but it actually instructed the architect how to come up with a better plan. It's a good exercise.
So, I hear everything you're saying, but the one real issue, I mean, this whole house is designed with this as a centerpiece, with
That's
this.
right. And I don't believe that this board would approve that design. We made that clear to you.
So what,
You have an architect. We are not telling you how to replace it. We're just telling you that we find it to be not residential, to be monumental and aggressive. And objectionable by every single one of us, I believe. Is that true? True.
Yes.
5 of us. So I say, so you'll have to rework it in some way.
are you talking about the fact that there's glass
No,
here?
we're not. We're telling you that that entire
Seth,
Tower
Yeah,
is.
we're not going to nitpick on this. This is just, we've told, if you go over the record, it pierces.
let's not have any more
Okay, let's
discussion
not
on
do
this,
it.
folks.
Yeah.
I think, Seth, you asked us to be clear. We're as
We're as clear as we-
can be.
yeah,
I'm
we're
sorry if we
done.
can't be any clearer, but it's clear. One thing that's clear is that the design as currently presented is not going to get the
yes.
3 required votes. So if you're asking us, well, in fact,
We could deny it.
I think there's some public here that might
Yeah.
want to speak. So have you gentlemen finished your case presentation?
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Before we move on to objecting neighbors, we should say that we received an objection letter and don't see the objector here tonight.
Do you want me to read it? No.
Please don't. Objecting to the notice that you gave. This objector believes that the entire Roscoe Place subdivision is entitled to notice. I disagree. You give proper notice pursuant to the village code. There's no New York State village law requirement that requires greater notice. If she's speaking of a law that I'm not familiar with, she did not cite it.
Okay.
isn't the poster on the
No,
poster part of the neighborhood notice?
that's different.
It's not an issue.
It's not an issue. Let it go.
Yeah.
Someone who would like to go first of the people, step forward, sir, and state your name.
Yes, hello, my name is Fred Weinfurt. I reside at 45
did.
Roscoe Drive. And I did send an email to the board for your review. I hope you've had an opportunity to look at it. And it sort of mirrors everything you've been saying here tonight, that I think a whole redesign of this house is necessary because it is not, and I know that word harmoniously compatible appears in the code, and I think that's it does not comply with that. It is not harmoniously compatible with other houses in the Roscoe community, and I think that's what you're charged with. But also, in the event of a redesign, I'd like to go on the record of saying I do not like the idea of a second-story balcony, which would overlook my property and is an invasion of not only my privacy, but also to other surrounding neighbors. So I would like to go on record as objecting to that. Even if it appears in the redesign, I hope you would decline that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next, who would like to speak? Hurry up.
Now, Susan.
Your name, please, for the record.
My name is Diane Smith. I live at 5 Adams Lane in Southampton. Whoops, let me put my glasses on.
A lot of covering, isn't it?
Yeah, it's harder. I am pleased to respectfully present to you my concerns regarding the proposed home mansion in my immediate neighborhood. Our community is a lovely neighborhood that has charming homes that are in compliance with local ordinances. However, the home at 31 Roscoe Drive should not be granted a building permit as the current plans disregard the streetscape and the harmony of our community. I ask the board to stop construction of this building. Perhaps it is best suited elsewhere. To begin, the home should be more compatible with the neighboring structures. It appears too massive, and the open glass windows and modern triple pane front main window will stand out from the existing neighborhood homes. These large windows will intrude on privacy. Also, there are many details that yet are not in the plan. I also would like to see a landscape design plan. I am grateful to be here to speak to you tonight, and finally, I am equally grateful to be in my home here for many years. And I am grateful to have a voice to enable the proper construction in keeping with the local ordinances for the Southampton Village preservation. I thank you and have faith with the facts being presented today, and that an ultimate satisfactory conclusion can be reached. I also want to add that the large glass front there overlooks my fence. I have a 7-foot fence, so that whenever I go to swim, they can see me walking through my backyard to go into my swimming pool. So that's just unacceptable.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, who would like to speak? Please state your names.
Tim Welch, my wife Carol.
Oh, hi, Carol. Hi. Long time no see.
The masks.
That house that's being built, aside from the fact that everything you said, I think was
Spot on.
correct, yeah, spot on about the house, they've proposed no screening for the houses that are impacted, around the house, because
The western edge of their yard covers like the back eastern half of ours where our pool is. And the same as the last presenter made reference to walking to the pool and being seen and intrusive sense. We'd like to know what the screening will be and some things like that.
Okay. We hear you.
Thanks.
Thanks very much for coming. Anyone else? Nope.
So, in addition,
Yeah.
are you going to ask for the landscape plan?
I think we're going to need a
Yeah.
we definitely need a new house plan.
Site plan.
A site plan. No, we have a site plan.
Context plan.
Context, right.
Context plan.
And house site plan. Landscaping plan.
And a context elevation as well of the adjacent houses.
How tall?
Yeah, I can show.
Like what's
Yeah.
prior.
You want to give it,
You can have
you
that.
could
I
give
have
them
one
that.
that
Do you like that?
It's a way of seeing everything in
This
context.
is communicated?
Yes. That was required of the Halsey Street application for a new building, and also Toilson's done one.
It's very helpful to see the impact of a new house on the neighbors and the neighborhood.
Understood.
Okay, so, anything else from you?
Okay, we'll ask for an adjournment.
Okay, till our next meeting, on the 28th?
All right.
It's a holiday.
It's a Jewish holiday. If that impinges on anyone, we understand. Okay. Motion to approve applicant's request.
We need a different.
Just take the adjournment.
You can always write us a letter and put it off.
You can come the following.
Yeah. 31 Roscoe Developer LLC, 31 Roscoe Drive. Motion to approve applicant's request. So moved.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. See you then. Okay, what did we ask for? Landscape,
Context.
context, and what else? Was that it?
Landscape plan, context.
Okay. You know, Lisa, we didn't have enough plans. Where are the renderings of the existing on these plans? We didn't
You don't have the existing?
Before we talk about that, we should get jurisdiction.
posting and mailing.
You didn't get the existing plans too?
No, this is, on both of these applications you have, there's just the proposed, but nothing else.
We should say what application we want.
This is, sorry, 1421 Meadow Lane.
I brought the existing for the next one.
Construct first and second story additions, but, so we're looking at,
I didn't actually, I brought the existing for the next one. I didn't actually bring the existing because I thought you had them, but I can walk you through what's there.
so take that away and we need the next one. Sorry, Lisa, we're talking
okay.
about purposes.
This is what's
Right,
currently
but
there.
we actually, you know, it's hard to work on what you're going to add or subtract if we don't have a rendering of what you have.
Yeah, you should have them.
On the plan, she has marked out here
Yeah, I see that.
for the addition, and then I think she has in the
Pictures.
Right, on the
hash mark.
elevations, I have labeled what's existing and what's additions.
Right.
Oh,
but-
okay.
And then there are hash marks. for the-
Yeah, all the elevations, you'll see there's kind of an area that shows the addition versus what's existing.
Here's the affidavit.
But I thought you had there should be one set of existing plans in there, but maybe they didn't get
There
it.
is,
No, I was going to think a site plan.
You don't have a survey either?
here, this is,
Interesting.
Cheryl Ward,
11 by 17
1421.
packs were woefully incomplete.
Yeah.
You should have everything.
Well,
So could I just ask you, this Sky Plane business pervades every rendering? It's
Yes, and I have a
because-
variance for all of it.
Okay, that's just fine. And it's in the file? It needs to be in the file.
I can put it in the file. It
Okay,
was
fine.
probably, it was approved at the last meeting, so it was.
A while ago.
dated, So it was approved August 20.
25th?
Yeah,
No,
that was the day.
27th.
Yeah, whatever the day was. So yes, it was approved at that meeting. But I can put it in the file for you.
All right,
absolutely.
so go ahead, sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. This is a copy of the survey. And so the existing house is a cute little 1.5-story cape on the corner of Meadow Lane and Road D. And we actually had gone to the ZBA, I don't even know, 12 years ago for the previous owner, to get a very similar addition, which, actually, this is the other neighbor. Hold on. Let me give you a different survey. to give you, to get an addition, which basically is kind of a reverse gable that comes towards Meadow Lane. This is this survey, sorry. Which you can see, it's here on the west side of the building, and comes forward onto the house. So the existing floor plan, and I have bubbled in kind of what's the addition. It's basically this part here that comes forward towards Meadow Lane, as well as an addition of about 7 feet towards Road D. So we got variances, of course, for pyramid and sky plane. So the Meadow Lane elevation is really the primary one that changes, and that's this addition here, which is a reverse gable, no taller than the existing 1.5-story house. That comes towards Meadow Lane. There's currently 2 doghouse dormers on the front of the house. That's all that's up there. So we're creating this reverse gable with doghouse dormers on it, and then to kind of balance it off on the side, we got rid of the little baby doghouse dormer, which seemed a little small, and just created another reverse gable on that end of the house. And you can see the dotted line here as to where the addition is that goes towards Road D, as well as the addition that comes forward towards Meadow Lane.
So on the addition that comes forward, there's a garage facing Meadow Lane?
It's underneath the building. Down there, of course, everything's elevated, and we had elevated it about 10 years ago. So yes, it's underneath the building.
But you can see it from the street then?
You will be able to see it.
Is there room to come in to the garage from the west side?
No, I don't have that kind of room at all.
The smaller houses, and this being one of them, and you did introduce it as being a cute house, and it's cute. It's cute the way it is, but be that as it may. There are probably a half a dozen houses especially on the north side of Meadow Lane, that either have a portico into the house. I didn't write down the numbers. They're to the east. To the west, there are 2 houses that also have a similar half-level sunken garage, sort of like under the house. So it's not unusual, and I don't see how they could do it any other way. And some houses don't have
garages
at all.
Yeah.
So.
The house was raised up, the grade was raised up, about 10 years ago. In front of the house, there's retaining walls for the septic system. All of that stuff was done by the previous owner in preparation for the fact that we also had approval for this addition. It is. There's no other place for it to go, if you will. And our goal is not for it to be an obvious garage in any way, shape, or form.
And then the other thing is, and I know it's where that's positioned in the on the house, there's one, I can even see the western edge of the house between what plantings and hedges and everything like that. So
right.
I think it's not going to be that.
Okay, that's fine. I just...
a lot of planting that I noticed that.
Right. And the addition, there was a brand new modern house that was built on the west side there. They also got a bunch of variances.
I see the site plan. Sorry,
It's okay. This is an old. Let me give you a survey. This one shows a porch. Let me just.
Don't we have a site plan?
Oh, here you go. No problem. Sorry. I don't know why it's. It should be in there.
Well, one thing that would mitigate it, looking at the garage door, is if you could possibly offset the driveway so that you can get a straight shot down the driveway to the door.
Is that possible?
If you could push the driveway over
Well, see, that's what I can't, here, let me show you. That's a retaining wall there that holds the septic system.
Can't move that.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Whatever you do, do not drive over the septic.
This is a
Never mind.
retaining wall,
Have it on the
and it's
record.
all,
Just show one member we need it.
Okay,
Sorry.
sorry, down.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ellen.
yes, no, this is a
understand.
retaining
Yep.
wall, and there's a double level retaining wall around both Meadow Lane and Road D, yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah, no, I can't. But I mean, that also helps to kind of hide, I think, to Jeff's point, that it kind of really hides the
Yeah.
whole
At the
facade. I mean,
grade
you don't
level,
really
yeah.
see it.
All right. So,
Just looking at the back of the house?
Yeah, please.
The only question I have, I think the front of the house looks great. You really maintain the character of the existing house to a large degree. On the back side of the house, the expanse of the terrace on the first floor seems just overwhelming. And even on the second floor, I mean, there is a terrace on that newer house to the east. It's like a glass house.
Right,
But
correct.
it seems much smaller in scale to the house.
I actually didn't change the first floor terrace at all.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, the existing deck that's there, the only thing that I added was a stairway down from the existing deck on the west side there. So actually, the entire deck that you see there is actually
Okay.
existing. And I just created this, 5-foot kind of cantilevered roof deck on the second floor. The only thing that changes on this whole back of this house is this little 6-foot portion here where I added a window and I kind of just extended
On the east
roof
side of the
line
house.
on the east side. Yeah, all of that is existing.
Okay.
all right.
Do you have a picture of the back?
I'm sure I do.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
I mean, this is.
You put it down?
That's obviously.
You put it down so he can get.
Yep, that's existing there. And then I
Can
probably have a picture. Maybe I
Charlie
don't.
get that?
Lisa, can you put it so Charlie, we're not making any.
We're not
Cover up another one, there you go.
This is the back of the house. It's a shed dormer. It's a long shed dormer
see,
off the
here
back
we
of
go.
this.
Hold on.
Oh, so it's like that already.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
So
because
you're adding a second floor deck, though, right?
I am. I'm adding a little cantilevered 5-foot second floor deck that overhangs part of that.
I get it.
to me, the design doesn't look like it's quite up to the site, for want of a better expression. In the rendering, you have windows that are 2/2, and then big doors that don't seem to have any dividers. Your rendering doesn't show that this.
Yeah. Again, the doors are existing. So the doors are existing.
The windows that you're showing in the existing appear to be, 6/6?
The windows that are, we actually were going to replace all of the windows in the house to the 2/1s, but I mean, that's not a.
So they're 2/1s, but they don't show,
We were going to replace all the windows in the house.
they show as
1/1
1/1 in your rendering.
And the rear.
Facing in the north
Yeah.
elevation.
On the side elevation, the west elevation, they look correct, like 2/1.
But the north,
Oh, those in the bedroom. Okay, I can definitely.
Well,
yeah,
it's
somehow
just-
it's probably.
it doesn't show,
Yes. Okay. Absolutely. I mean,
I mean,
those would
right-
also be 2/1s. We were going to. There was a conversation at one point as to whether we were replacing all the windows or not. Yes, you're correct.
because right now it looks sort of like,
A lot of windows.
not only a lot of windows, but you went to a going out of business sale and just chose what was available.
Those would all also be 2/1s. Or if you, I mean, they have no real. If 6/1 was a preferable thing, that wouldn't.
These are all 2/1?
Yes. They'll all be.
So you're going to have to bring that in.
Yeah, I can certainly
Okay.
bring that in.
Otherwise, I wouldn't just pick it, I don't actually object to it.
I'm fine as well.
I mean, it is, but
If I note them as 2/1s on the plan, is that an acceptable thing, or you want me to bring in new plans, or?
could you bring it in so that, of the two big sets,
Yeah, of course.
let's have a correct two big sets
Can you close it though without that, or?
with the caveat.
If we're all in agreement, if you could just mark a plan here tonight.
Oh, here. Yeah, where's the big plans? Do we have big plans?
I may have only given you little plans that were stamped and signed.
No,
Yeah,
in
we
the
don't.
file.
They were stamped and signed, but Yeah, those are stamped and signed. I can mark up one of those.
We don't have big ones.
Are they even stamped? Okay.
Yeah,
here are
no,
the
I
two.
stamped and signed them.
All right, so if you go out and initial and mark them,
Okay, absolutely.
but, so we can vote? Yes? Can we vote anyway?
Vote.
Okay, motion to
Please vote.
approve the application of Jonathan and Cheryl Ward, 1421 Meadow Lane. Construct first and second story additions and replace windows.
And replace windows, correct.
Okay. Motion?
With the change, can you just note the change on the record?
With the with a change by the architect by hand on the record, on the plans?
So all the windows are going to be
2 over 1.
Oh, and replace all windows 2 over 1 in the back, right?
Correct.
North elevation.
2 over 1 on north elevation. I actually think I have to write this on the plans. Okay.
I'll make the change.
Can you write it on,
Yes, absolutely,
behind, down
absolutely,
here
absolutely.
and draw it in and
Yeah,
come back?
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so I made a motion.
She's the next one, too.
I'm the
Oh,
next one
that's
too,
right.
so.
Don't you dare go then.
I'll second.
Bishop's Waves LLC.
Wait a minute.
Wait, take a vote.
Oh, vote.
We got a second.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Okay.
Next, Bishop's Waves LLC.
This was really hard to follow.
I'm
We couldn't
sorry.
follow it.
Didn't follow it at all.
Construct
so
one-story
sorry.
addition and renovation to existing dwelling. So this is what, posting and mailing?
I already,
Great,
They are in order.
okay. So this is in particular one where here is what, there is no existing.
this is the existing elevation. I don't know why you don't have it. This is the existing elevation and this is the
Whoa,
proposed.
whoa, wait a minute.
This is the existing elevation and this is the proposed. And the addition is a little one-story proposed addition on the south side of the house. It's this. That's all it is.
So we just,
Do you have a picture for them on
Yes, this is-
what it's replacing, and well, Lisa can describe it, but basically it's a walkway and a gazebo.
Correct. So I can
so
show
you're
you.
putting in building to cover the walkway and the gazebo?
There currently exists there now.
I went over there.
This one-story little screened-in porch that's on the west side of the house. Did you see that? I mean, on the south side. Why do I keep saying that?
Yes, and it looked like someone had built, is that of a C of O?
Yes. Yeah. No, it was built.
I was like,
It was.
hair on fire.
It was
Where's
built
the-
originally.
Where's the record?
No. It's all
Okay,
CN.
I know. You're
It's-
getting rid of that and you're adding on where that was?
Correct. Exactly.
Okay. I'm
So
glad that's
the existing house is this long,
Really?
rambling, odd mishmash of
Forms,
different
yes.
structures. And my addition, which, by the way, we will probably come back and do something to try to do something with this. But at the end of the day, my addition is a little one-story addition on the south side of the house that removes this screened-in porch that's connected by. Don't laugh.
I was just flipped out by it.
Removes this little screened-in porch and little breezeway and connects it with a little pantry powder room that's off the kitchen with a hallway to an enclosed library that's slightly larger than what's there. However, obviously it's a gable roof as opposed to this little hipped building that's here. So it's a little gable roof, and that's literally, I can't take credit for any of that. I'm only taking credit for that. But we will attempt to go forth.
All right. Any comments from the board? I have no objection now that the creepy little places, I just,
At least your addition mimics the most nearest part of the house.
the most consistency,
Well, I had a lot to choose from.
most consistency in the
I had a lot
in
to
the
choose
project.
from.
And the existing, just before your addition, the gable with the...
The kitchen, that's the kitchen, yes.
Okay, that window is
That's
6/1 plus that transom?
Yes, that's existing.
Yeah, okay. I would rather, okay, that's there, that's fine, we're stuck with it. But do we have to repeat it?
You can see it here.
Yeah, I know, but do we have to repeat it on the new addition? I find those transoms, I don't know why you
without
don't do
the
one window.
transom?
You know, the right size you want, rather than making out of 4 pieces. You know, do a pair instead of 4. That's,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a critical part of it. If you were truly opposed to it, it's obviously it's nice to give a little bit of height into a cathedral room.
I don't mind the height. I just I don't know why can't you make it one window or a pair of windows instead of 4 windows? That's.
I don't know. It's always nice to have that line up with the door, all the doors in the room. And kind of that horizontal line is always nice. I don't know, I always kind of feel like if the window head height is higher, that it kind of gives it a different scale. Like that to me brings it down to scale, to a human scale, to all the door head heights and everything.
It'd be better without the transoms, that's all. Even if you just kept the 6/1 and didn't have the transom. I don't think you should repeat something that is not.
That's not so hard to start with.
That's all. The other windows are fine. They're all 6/1. They're like normal windows you see everywhere. And then we have one weird one. Mm-hmm. And I would rather just keep that be the only weird one. And if we could just make the new one like all the rest of them, I would be completely happy.
Rather than repeat something that's an aberration.
I don't think my client would be opposed to that. So if that was something that
That's my only objection.
Okay.
On both elevations.
Yeah, obviously, yes, of course.
So the polygonal dining room?
There.
That's
all
there?
existing.
This is the only
all
thing they're
existing.
changing.
Okay, all right, because I'm,
The thing that's attached,
okay.
the little wired in place with the connector.
I see, because I thought, I don't think so.
I know.
Okay,
I'm out. Tapping out on that.
gotcha, okay.
Again, I can.
I don't care about the window, so it's up to you all to hash it out. I think it's fine the way it is.
If it changes the vote, then I don't think that.
I have no objections one way or the other.
Do you want that?
No objection.
Okay, well, you could have it the way you want it.
All right, I'll leave it. I think it'll be nice inside the room. So I would leave it if given the option. And I mean, honestly, it's not visible from any point that any person other than them is going to say and they like it. So.
All right.
The thing that would get me is more the
rambling style. I just find it.
It's
an
odd mishmash of
Yeah.
But it's there.
Okay. Motion to approve the application of Bishop's Waves LLC, 139 Bishop's Lane.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I said aye.
Lisa, so now you have to do your homework.
Okay, I'll
which
do
is
my homework.
Write in, replace. So on this, underneath here, you're going to write in about replacing the windows, right?
Okay, absolutely.
And then you're going to bring it back to me.
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All of you have a great night.
Oh, yeah. Well, so far.
I know. I was like, okay, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go in there.
Yeah.
I'll bring these right
Heidi-ho.
back to you. I'll bring these right
Next.
back. Thank you.
Richard, do we have you? Richard Aquila? Delaquila, sorry, I missed one. 227 Halsey Street, constructs second-story addition to dwelling and accessory structure.
And I will apologize in advance. I'm the homeowner. I'm
my
not an
goodness.
architect.
So you're supposed to defend this?
We're supposed to be gentle?
All right, well, that's what happened here. So you're just going to,
Affidavit? I do. Yep.
well, at
This
least
is
you
my
got,
first time doing this, so
it's the talent.
So if I'm unprepared, I will follow up. The architect's a friend of mine and unfortunately could not join me tonight, so I apologize in
Is
advance.
this the one where they're, so, we have some trouble with the plans because they're marked funny?
There was
East is west and west is east.
There was one, yeah, I noticed there was one label on the existing conditions, I think, that had the wrong label. Was that what you were referring to?
Your north arrow is upside down.
Was reversed, south and north were reversed.
Which one was that?
On A.
A201, hang on a second, sorry about that. Yes, the labels here are in, where is it?
So
No, that's correct, isn't it? North elevation and south?
I don't think so.
Because this is looking north on A201?
Yeah, isn't the top on the south elevation? Doesn't that face south?
No, that faces north. That would be from the driveway on the south side of the house? There was one other, I think, that might have, on the existing conditions, that might have been
A200 is west and east instead of north and south.
Well, I'll tell you what is very confusing, just for reference. We can figure it out.
Yeah, A200 is incorrect.
And the survey has north up, and the
Could you
architectural
turn these
plans is north down.
The A101 has north
Turn it
down.
180 degrees towards us.
You need to turn the,
Turn it towards you?
yeah, I
Sorry about
confused
that.
you though, since you're,
And I think that's why we're so confused about what's north and what's south, because
Yeah,
the
the north
architectural
elevation
plan is
is
not
actually
oriented
the
the same
east
way as the
elevation.
survey.
You see on A101, the north arrow is facing down. On the key plan.
Oh, right.
And your survey is facing north, which is the custom. So, I mean, we get over that, but I think that started a lot of confusion.
So the north elevation is the east elevation, which is the front elevation. Okay? East. So north is east.
Yeah, I'm sorry, on A.
The south elevation is actually, that's the rear of the house, I assume. So yeah, so that would be the west elevation. So south is west.
yeah.
Correct. South is west, and then that's right. What is north? That's the label that is incorrect. A200. That should be. That's.
Well, then therefore
So south.
oh, right, A,
201 is wrong too. I'm sorry, but it is.
yeah, that's, the north elevation is the south.
No, I'm sorry.
Look at the survey
Yeah.
for where your north really is.
Look at 201.
Where's the
Richard.
chimney?
201, look at 201, right side facing is the front door.
Chimney's on the north
Therefore,
side.
that's the north, what's labeled the north should be the south.
The chimney's on the north side.
No, the chimney
I
is
see. I
the chimney is
understand.
the chimney is facing the west side. So 201, let me, guys, it's real simple. A201, the top picture is not the north elevation, it's the south elevation.
That's correct.
That's right.
That's right. I'm sorry.
And the bottom picture we're drawing is the north elevation.
North elevation. That's correct. I'm sorry. I was. Yeah.
All right, we got our nomenclature.
Got it.
Straight now?
See, I told you I would add to the confusion. So
No,
my apologies. I've owned the house for 8 years, and I walk around it when I'm there. I know what's
North, south.
north, south, east, and west, and yeah.
Can you, so you're adding on the south side, is that correct?
On the west side. So it's the back of the house.
Right, that's really the only addition.
Oh,
Yeah, that's all, yeah.
So basically, would it be helpful just to give
yeah.
a sentence, a context on what we were trying to do?
Absolutely, sure.
Okay. My wife and I bought the house a little over 8 years ago. We have young kids, and when we bought it, we had this vision of, at some point, being able to just add, the master bedroom right now is on the ground floor, and my kids are upstairs. And the first floor footprint, the second floor, as you can see here, does not extend to the rear elevation of the house. And so what we had been trying to do was figure out a way to build the master onto the second floor, but not disrupt anything that we don't need to disrupt on the house. We love the house, it's terrific. And so we're basically just adding an addition onto the second floor so that it matches the existing elevations on all sides. I mean, there's a slight cantilever here, and obviously we're putting a chimney on, but the intent is to put the master bedroom and bathroom onto the second floor. We're not adding any foundation or changing the overall footprint of the house. And then the other piece of it, the house has an existing accessory structure. Pool house. I call it a pool shed because I don't know if it's big enough to be considered a pool house, but it has a little wet bar in it and a full bathroom. And we didn't want too much massing on the property. We do want a garage and some storage space, and so we are proposing to remove the existing pool shed and replace that with a garage that will fit one car. It has some storage, and then we're not putting a full bath in it. We're going to put just a toilet and sink in there, which we already have in the existing pool shed out there. And then instead of having a shower in there, we might put an outdoor shower.
Okay.
And I noted, and I picked this up late, I apologize, the chimney here in the drawings that you guys have, and I brought revised copies, shows stone on the chimney, and that is not my intention. My intention is for that to be brick, which would match the existing, and I think is more conforming with the neighborhood.
Yeah, good.
And so I have a revised set of drawings with that. And then the other detail, which was a suggestion from my architect, was if you notice, we're just trying to match the existing conditions for these doors that are going on the ground level. And I can show this to you. We are proposing a simpler mullion pattern on those. And then these three windows here in the breakfast area, we were proposing to make a little bit taller so they would get more light into this breakfast area.
And that is all reflected in the plans that are before you?
That is in these, and I brought you copies to leave with you.
They need to be stamped in. Okay.
I can show that.
So
These are the smaller format, and I have the large format.
Okay, now I see it. The doors.
So if you indulge me, let me just weigh in on this and give you my thoughts. I appreciate Richard's desire and objectives. I don't know and would assume, would hope that you've read the ZBA decision. And I'm not looking to overturn their decision. However, part of their decision was based on increasing the square footage allowance because during the 8 years that Richard and his wife have owned the property, the zoning code and the rules have changed. Well, that's what happens, okay? And it happens for a reason. It happens because the village decided that houses were getting too big for the lots. So I'm not looking to overturn the ZBA's decision.
Good, because you can't.
I know, I can't. Thank you. I can question it, but it doesn't really matter what their decision is, and that's really what I wanted to share with you, because our view is, literally and figuratively, an aesthetic perspective. Sorry, I need help tonight. And so the result of the changes is such that it creates a house that will be visually, I believe, more massive than the area would be harmonious with the area. As a result of that, we are, if we approve this as it's submitted, we are in essence, I believe, going against what the intent of the change of the rules of the zoning code were. So, from our perspective, the result is when you add that second roof line from the street, it's going to create a boxy house. At least the way I read the drawing. Because the roof line now is going to go, let me see where I can see it.
Yeah, I might be able to help clarify because actually from this, none of it's visible from this street.
I see it being boxy.
No, well, I'm sorry.
Maybe it's because of the elevations. Oh, you know what it is? Okay. I see what it was. Okay, it was. I was reading the dotted line, so I take that back. Okay.
Yeah, we're just trying to show where we were adding. So everything's within the sky plane, and from the street, there's no change other than the garage.
Then I stand corrected. I may make strong points, but when I make a mistake, I also admit it quickly. So that was my error in reading the diagram. I mean, the expansion to the rear is large, but it is to the rear, and as long as it doesn't change the front. Now, what does change the front, which is disappointing, is that as a result of putting structures in the rear, that what's currently grass in the front of the house, which Richard looks very nice, and you maintain it extremely well. I happen to live on Halsey Street, as does John. And to see that greenery disappear for the sake of putting cars, to me, is objectionable. And it's disappointing to the point that I would vote no, because again, this is a situation where it's your choice to do those things.
Where is this notated, the grass?
If you look on the site plan, the revised site plan, right, Richard?
There are two spaces in front of the house.
Two spaces, and I'm open to suggestions for that.
How about that grass stuff that with the brick?
Well, no. We're actually trying to get more green spacing, because I agree with you. I want as much grass as possible. Right now, we have a very long driveway here, which, as you know, the driveway runs the entire length. I had looked, and we've been going back and forth on these plans for probably 5 or 6 years, just thinking about this. And at one point, we had looked at trying to figure out whether or not we could put a garage here, just so that we would have all grass in the back of the house. And it wasn't feasible because we have a relatively new, when the house was done in 2008, and good septic system, and then there were setback issues. So we ended up with the garage back here. And I agree with you, by the way. I want as much green grass as possible. We like the outdoor space. We right now have a brick patio around the pool, and with the change on the back of the house with the deck, our plan is to get rid of most of that and reclaim the space with grass. I'm certainly open to suggestions here. I will say that functionally with this driveway, I think when the house was built, they kept the corner of the existing foundation, which is why I'm within the existing setback slightly on this side. This driveway is a real bear when I have a full house with my kids and with my parents who spend a lot of time with us. My dad does the overcorrection backing out the driveway thing pretty well, and has clipped the rear deck a few times. And it's not functional. And as you know, on Halsey Street, I really try to avoid, one, we have a speed issue on our street, which
second that, but that's a different issue.
And I also try really hard to, if at all avoidable, not have people parking on the street because it's narrow. And so, I'm open to suggestions. One of the things we talked about was whether or not we could, make this look more like some form of a courtyard. We would keep the hedging in here, but I want to keep as much of this grass as possible.
So, if this is not something, if it's only going to be used on occasion when your father happens to be babysitting, then one thing that some houses, and I think you mentioned it, I heard you mention using the grates and and grass.
Yeah.
Basically, you have
where the grass
grass, but you have this graded substructure.
Solve your problem.
I think I've done that.
Yeah, well, and
great.
Yeah, we were actually, one of the things we were proposing where I had this long driveway right now, and we have to scope it in and determine cost, and also how it will age, if it can be maintained. But one of the things we had proposed was actually getting rid of the driveway along the side of the house and replacing the geopavers for the same reason. I would love to have as much grass.
It disappears when no cars are there.
Now, geopavers, are those the ones that have visible concrete in between? Because I was thinking of...
Well, you're supposed to have the grass that grows around it. Those are put in...
Well, there are two different...
Plastic.
Okay. I thought there are these metal grates.
Well, the ones I used are plastic. And it's just a plastic grid.
Grid, oh, it's a grid, okay.
And you fill it with cups and you fill it with dirt, and it really works. So
Yeah.
you don't see it at all.
So the grass grows, as long as you don't have cars parked, all the time.
Or winter, something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if Richard were to do that, then one, my mistaken read is withdrawn, and then I would have no objections to other aspects.
Okay.
I don't have any objections. You're keeping within the footprint. You're not changing the look of the house very much at all, except in the back, and what you did looks fine. I have no problems with it at all.
Yeah, and I'm happy on this, like I said, I'm happy to come back. I want to get this solved the right way. And I've actually spent a heck of a lot of time trying to figure out what the right solution is. It's also functional because
I don't think you actually, if you make it into those pavers, you can do that.
okay.
And
I don't think the police are going to come.
Really?
What?
Remember the car that has the elevator?
I
There you have it.
looked,
There's
I
an
don't know
idea.
if they're doing it. I looked to see if they built it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see.
So, okay, I'm perfectly accepting of this situation.
So, John, so then I would make a motion that we accept the plans with the provision that the front yard uses these grids.
Well,
No.
Maybe he should explore that and correct the plans.
Okay,
And come back?
okay. All right.
It's up to you. If you want to take what they're offering to you and make that what you're going to do rather than being sure of what you want and proposing that, it's up to you.
So if you're saying if we leave it open, I can come
Yeah.
propose this to you and get it fully resolved as
Yeah.
part of this, which I'm happy to do. I want to get it.
Or another option that suits your needs.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so you want
go
to
with
adjourn
ours.
till our next meeting?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Great.
And if that being the only outstanding issue then, and,
That is, to me, the only outstanding issue.
okay.
In motion to approve applicant Richard Del Aquila, sorry,
Quite all right.
to adjourn to our next meeting on September 28th, 2020.
And can I leave these with you?
No, you gotta,
These were the
to
ones
the-
showing the brick?
Oh, the revised?
Yeah.
They need to be stamped, right?
you
Yeah.
need to take them to the building department and have them stamped in properly.
Okay, I
Because
can
the
do
building
that. I'll do that
inspector-
and bring it all
The
back.
building inspector needs to actually review them,
Okay.
because they're changed, right?
Okay, yeah, with the brick versus the
Showing the
stone
brick.
and just the mullions.
Just tell them, okay?
Yep, no problem.
Accept that motion.
Who seconded?
I'll second.
Aye.
Adjourn to the...
To adjourn, yeah.
Hi.
Okay, see you next time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next. Number 1 is adjourned till the 28th. Number 2, BHNH LLC, 109 Hampton Road. Construct additions and alterations to existing dwellings. Oh, wait, whose is this? This is for him, Del Aquila.
Okay.
Take care, John.
Good seeing you.
Thanks, everybody.
Richard.
Hi.
Thank you.
He's nice.
Should I proceed?
Yeah. State your name, Mr.
My name is
Bennett.
John Bennett, and I, just the first time I've been appearing before the board board has heard this application at least on 2 prior occasions. So Eric Jamian is the project architect, and also Noreen Harvard, who's one of the 2 owners of the property, is here with me. Clients approached me based upon my ability to sort of work out some of the outstanding issues based upon my experience before the board. One of the things, although this house, which is the old Cortlandt Smith house, has asphalt shingles, and of course could remain, I suggested that to bring it back to what was no doubt the original texture of the roof, to replace both the old and the new, to replace the old and construct the new with wood shingles, which again the board doesn't necessarily insist on, but I thought was only fitting for the character of this house, and hopefully bring it back to some of the better sense of feel and sense of place for this house. So that's been done. But we've also made some significant changes since the last time we were here. One of the things, this is Court Smith's house. It's a house that sort of grew, there's that, I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, Stuart Brand, who was the author of the Whole Earth Catalog, wrote a book called How Buildings Learn, which is a very interesting book. And this building learned in some bad ways, actually, I think, over the years. We're trying to bring that back. There are 4 skylights, sort of 70s-ish skylights on the building. We're removing 3 of those skylights, and in addition to putting the shingle roofs on the house. I got the sense from looking at, not only speaking to the client, but also looking at the videos, that the board preferred the entrance, on the south elevation, which faces Hampton Road, to leave the, whatever you want to call this. I don't know that it's technically a pediment, but sort of this gable over the existing house, as opposed to how we were, existing entrance, as opposed to how it was being treated in the past. So we're going to retain what is there now. One of the windows at the end, which doesn't have the mullions, I'm going to put those back in. And when I say put them back in, just take out that more modern window and match the historic window. And then we're adding this roof dormer, which I'm going to ask, a couple of roof dormers, which I'm going to ask Eric to speak a little bit about, particularly the way we've taken one of the roof dormers and shrank it and bisected it into 2. I know Zach had a question about maybe making 1 dormer, but we're going to show you that that's impractical, because those 2 dormers will both sit over a separate room, and also the fact that we need some sort of headroom there. The headroom is it's a small. I used to watch Court Smith go into that house and say to myself, now, that's a small house for a short guy, which is interesting because his son is a pretty tall guy. His son had it for a while. What a great guy. But anyway, so we're just trying to make it a little bit more habitable in terms of what's going on there. I think you'll see on the Elm Street elevation, again, killing that skylight, maybe making a broader window there. Not a terribly big change. On the east side yard, I know Zach's question was, could we make this 1 dormer? We had originally had an elongated dormer. We thought there would be better relief for the eye to break it into the 2, and there's a very practical reason for that, because from an interior point of view, you have 2 separate rooms, but I'll let Eric explain that more fully. On the main part of the addition, the actual addition to the house to the north, obviously, as you guys like to see, as you should, made it subservient to the, it's a 1-story addition, subservient to the existing house. But I know, it's interesting, I know Zach in his commentary had a concern about the number of windows, and I'd like you to struggle with that for a while. Because the way I read the Department of Interior standards, which is obviously incorporated by reference into your code, the additions to the historic structures are supposed to be distinguishable from the historic structure. And I think a lot of times this board has paid lip service to that, to be brutally honest with you, but hasn't really embraced what the Interior Department of Interior standards say. You're supposed to be able to take that addition, remove it from the house, like it was never there.
That's
and
right.
It's not supposed to be mimicry.
I agree.
So I think actually, we're supposed to use the same forms and materials and color ranges. I'm quoting now, but distinguish it from the building. So we've made it subservient. This is not terribly visible from the street. You see it obliquely as you're heading south on Elm. And so we'd like to stay with that, even though Zach is recommending, for lack of better description, less glass. Eric, did you want to take the board a little bit more through some of the items, particularly about the need for headroom or anything else that you wanted to say?
No,
I think you've gotten most of it. I'm Eric Jimian, the architect. I mean, the back wall, it is glass because we do want to be able to look out into the yard. It has, this will be a painted, you know, the rest of the house is cedar shingle, so these will be kind of paneled. They have a panel up below, and then they're broken up with windows. So it's not going to be just, I mean, there is going to be a texture of white painted and paneling and glass to open that up. And then we do have a little bit of an overhang over here over the dining area, and that will repeat these same brackets that are in the front of the house. So we're creating that too.
Can you talk a little bit about the need for the dormers? You sent me an interesting email, which I thought maybe you just want to take the board through that. Do you have that, or do you want me to?
I don't have it, but basically the second floor is 575 square feet, 585 square feet. But when you look at code, it's considered a story and a half, so the ceilings are coming down. So when you look at code and what is actually code, you get you only have 48% of that is usable. At all the other points, the ceiling's coming down, so you can't kind of walk under that. So these strategic dormers are adding a head height, so we can make this a house for a bigger house, because it is going to be a family of 6 living there.
And one of the things that we took, I thought it was a good suggestion to take it so that it's above the soffit and fascia. I think probably what we're trying pay a little bit of homage. There's a wonderful house on North Main Street. I wish I knew the name of the original family that owned it, but there are these dormers that sit up in the gable. It's just maybe 2 or 3 north of Sam Herrick's house, if you know the house that I'm talking about. Those there are these. Those are actually, interestingly enough, those dormers have standing seam on them, but not these.
Is it a Greek Revival building?
Excuse me?
Is it a Greek Revival building?
No, but interesting that you say that, because that was one of the. No, it's not a Greek Revival building, but it's interesting to say that because that was one of the first times that they started using. Usually the side entrances to the Greek Revivals have some standing seam stuff, which I found very interesting. You know, because that's 1840s, 1830s.
Okay. We are reconstructing the sort of the wood, the Yankee gutter, and the wide fascia. Our original, our earlier designs had the windows breaking that, so we had full size. We've made the windows smaller and higher, so they will bring light in. They won't give us the view that we wanted initially, but what's most important is that we get that head height on the second floor.
What is the height of the knee wall of the second floor?
3 feet 8.
It's a struggle. Yeah. So we wanted to do something practical, but still have a minor impact on the visual to what's there now. You know, this is a good thing. The house is not derelict, and I'm glad someone's willing to take it on, and I think we've listened a lot. I know based upon what the client told me that the board's desires were, and listened to the video, and I think we've done a good job here.
So Susan and I were just looking at Zach's note, and he was suggesting, or at least questioning, as you said, John, the whole bank of windows. And if approved, the windows should be, and again, this is the consultant, so he's not the board. So if approved, the windows should be separated. And so that doesn't seem to be a big ask from an historical standpoint. So I'm not sure why that could not be accommodated.
Well, the question is whether or not, and that's why I read the Interior Secretary's guidelines. I don't think we should be engaging in mimicry of the existing building.
I don't think so at all. I mean,
We don't want to do that.
the form and the shape of those windows are much different than the rest of the house.
Can we start with the historic?
Yeah, let's split it up into historic and the new.
Sure, very good.
So, I mean, Well, why don't you start? I mean, for me, okay, just overview from the historic, I think it looks very, very good. I think it is a wonderful, authentic house, and you've listened, to the comments we had about the little shed, on Elm. I only have I have really almost no objections. Window B, I think the replacement of window B is a little bit horizontal. It's got, it's a two double casement now, and you're proposing a quadruple. I understand you need more light, want more light. I'd be happy with a triple window, just to sort of split that difference.
Yeah, we could do the
We'll
three.
kill one. Yeah, we'll do the three.
A20102, right?
I think that would I think that takes care of the walls. This is just me speaking, by the way.
Okay.
No, but I think it's a reasonable request.
Okay, and then on the dormers, looked at your plan. First of all, I think your plan is very clever. You managed to stuff all the functions into the old house, and you have the potential for a fabulous glassy pavilion. And this is where I differ with Zach. I actually like a lot of glass there for its contrast. But that's, I'm disagreeing. That doesn't mean I'm right. I think the only other preservation issue we might have, some of us have, are the dormers. My view on the dormers is that the ones facing Elm are fine. That elevation is, it's charmingly picturesque, been added to over time. I think that side of the house can admit a bit of the 21st century with the dormer. I would ask that the dormer, now you got one fat pier and two small ones. I would ask that you shrink it a little bit, enough to make the pier, the fat pier, the same.
This is on the east side yard?
The west, the Elm elevation.
Okay.
You've got A, which has a big fat pier.
Here?
No, the other side, the west side.
There's only one. Are you talking about the two dormers?
No.
This right here?
Yeah. See, it's behind
I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, there's one fat pier and then two short ones.
Oh, right here.
If you could
The pier that's A, that has the A
make
on
that
it.
fat one the same as the others, and then shove the other windows over, I think your vanity is big enough. You'll still have 5 feet or so for your, for the sinks under
For the
there.
bathroom.
He wants to make this pier the same as that.
Oh, make this
For
bigger,
symmetry.
Yeah.
And then just move it over.
And move it over.
Well, you lose like 6 inches of width.
Is there anything interior that's going to create, that doesn't seem like a big ask. Is there anything?
You have a double vanity there, so
Well, the other window goes into the
one's in the shower.
In the shower.
So you're shifting the...
So we can just shift the windows so they're all kind of equally spaced?
Yes.
Basically? Yeah, we can do that.
You can do that? Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Then I would,
That's an easy ask, right?
Yeah.
my view, that dormer is okay? Now, the other dormer, I sort of have an issue with because that side of the house, except for the one window you're adding, which is perfectly acceptable, it's kind of perfectly intact, and I'm just having a little trouble accepting those dormers.
And I'm opposed to the dormers on the east elevation.
You can't get the, it's like wildly out of code. I don't understand the reaction to that. It's just a statement. It's wildly out of code. And we're trying to, this is a two-story house that probably has the height of a one-story, most one-story houses. So we're trying to, I don't think it's a fair ask to ask us to remove the dormers in toto.
Well, you could take out the 3 on the right and just leave the 2. It's weird looking on top of it.
It's highly visible on the east elevation, and that has remained
Pristine. Historical.
And historical all these years.
Has it really? The house hasn't really, I don't think you can say this house
Well, it's remained.
That side is. The Elm Street side is not.
But the east elevation has not been pierced ever.
Well, can we get away with symmetry by removing one of those windows?
But they're placed in an...
I understand what you're saying, Susan.
Say yes. Yes,
I mean, they're
yes.
saying that they don't want to pierce the facade at all.
On the east elevation.
So you can argue with, why don't you argue with that?
Yeah, I think we could get rid of the one, I'll be just very brutally direct with you. I think that's given what we're trying to achieve here in terms of just more truly habitable space. That's a minimal ask. But we could go down to the more symmetry with two and two.
We can do that.
They're not going to buy it.
I'm confused.
Here we go. So on this side, just the flat side when you're coming. Okay, so they have a 3 and a 2, which makes no sense to me. And I had suggested that we get rid of it. But they don't want to do it at all. They're saying
No
no
dormers on the east side. It's not providing light to a bathroom. And I think basically because the other one is scooted over toward that chimney, it's going to provide what it needs to be habitable. And I started out saying no and no, but I think given the bathroom, I'll concur with Peter that the west elevation is okay if the changes are made.
I want you folks to drive down North Main Street, just past Jennings, and look to your left, about 2 houses down from Sam Herrick's old house.
Oh, I know where that
And it's a house that is probably as old, if not older, as this house. And see the treatment of the dormers on that house.
I mean, dormers are historic. I mean, and I think
Not
they
on this house.
not on this house, but there's.
So, I mean, we're talking about a historic house, and there aren't on here. So if you're adding them, we have something, we're saying, they are saying, maybe that's not a good idea to pierce the roof.
I mean, traditionally in row houses in New York City, when I worked at the Landmarks Preservation Commission, you had attic windows that were piercing, the fascia in the frieze.
But we don't really have a big enough freeze.
But we don't have
We will be keeping the frieze, and so we're adding some windows on above it.
So, I mean, I'm just saying that there isn't a precedent that I can come up with, and it was never here on this building.
There is currently a skylight on that side, though.
Yeah, a skylight is one thing, but...
Well, I'd rather see...
Can we add a bigger, we won't add a
Well, I'd rather see the removal of a skylight and a wood shingle roof, but adding some very minimal dormers.
Do you think you could remove the one over the stair? Is that truly a head bumper when you come up?
Yes.
It is, yeah.
Everything's very small. Everything's very dwarfed in that house.
Well,
I mean, you know what? Usually, you don't have jurisdiction over.
No, I know.
No. Let me finish the sentence, because you don't have jurisdiction over the inside. But sometimes what happens on inside can inform the reasonableness of what the request is. I'd be more than happy to have you come in and look at and experience it yourself. It's really quite something.
I'd love to go.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
And he'd love to go in.
Yeah. All right. Is that okay? That's all right. Yeah, sure.
I'm 6 feet.
Okay. So that doesn't really resolve this issue, but I guess we'll have to come back to it.
It's okay.
Well, we have one dormer to fight about, right?
Yeah,
I
don't want to be presumptuous, but
What about
that's what it is.
the addition? Are we on to the new part now?
Oh, I've got one other comment about the dormer, the one that we think is okay on the west elevation. I wonder about the return on that dormer.
Is there a return?
On the side?
On the side. Does that bother you, Peter, or is that?
I didn't really, let's see, maybe it's too fancy.
I think it's too fancy, given the severity of the building itself.
Yeah, I think you lose that little freeze and that internal cornice.
Just a little freeze, but you've got a return that I don't think would have.
Okay.
I wondered whether or not those returns, the existing returns were add-ons. I don't, but in any
I think we were looking at, we were going to.
Yeah, they had to, but we can simplify that. They were only put there because of your comments from last time of wanting to repeat that.
Yes. I think if they were just simple without that without the freeze and the molding, they'd be way more acceptable.
Yes, so we'll do that.
I'm very impressed. Are you taking mental notes of all this?
The approach of the rear elevation, at least looking at the Glaston section, is commendable because it's clearly not old, it's not trying to be ye olde, and I like the idea of just the panels and the...
And they are set back about 10 inches, so we'll have a shadow line to break the sort of monolithic of the cedar with the kind of inset panel.
I have no trouble with that.
I don't disagree. I used to think it's just a bit heavy-handed. It just hits you in the face like a brick wall, the amount of glass and windows in the back of the house. And it's, the back of the house is visible from Elm Street. There's no doubt about that, unless that driveway is going away and you're putting hedging along the side of the house.
That doesn't still justify.
I just did this because of Zach's message today. He said there was a lot of windows, so I put some color in there just so if it made it a little clearer for people. I have other copies if you need them.
Yeah, it's much softer than when you like that in plan.
I just was, when we read the email from Zach, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't this sort of super modern thing, although it is more glass than the front.
I think it's attractive. I seriously, I don't, dislike it. I just think that it's, maybe it's that second bank of windows that the 1, 2, 3, 4,
With the clear story, is that just a continuation of the windows or sort of a clear story thing in the middle?
This dormer here?
Yeah, I don't like those.
I don't mind the glass. I have a bigger problem with the addition, which I mentioned at the very first meeting, which is the geometry of the gable conflicting with the geometry of the original. And I wondered if, and I looked at, adding on to an historic house is always difficult, that. And especially, Greek Revival, which is sort of classical and self-contained, as a classical design is. So I looked at, I looked around the village and other places, and I wondered if you would consider a flat roof. I looked at, the Rogers Mansion on Meeting House. That's a high-style Greek Revival building, and the extension to the south towards Meeting House, it's got a flat roof, and it's treated. It's completely traditional. I mean, I'm sure it's pitched, but you can't see the pitch. You understand? It's perceptually flat. And I wondered if
is the objection to the obscuring of the windows?
No, it's the shape of the roof. I don't like the gable. I find the gable. If you look at the east elevation, and it sticks out beyond the original, which is fine. And I do like that it's different. But I think that you could solve a lot of, and plus, I do think it's slightly taller than the L's, facing Elm, and I do believe you're going to see the top of that roof. And if we're flat, and if we're at the height of the sill, the sill windows you're going to keep at the north side of the house, if we're a flat roof just below that sill, at that height, you'd get about a 10-foot ceiling, and you'd have all the freedom in the world. You could do whatever you wanted.
We are creating the sort of gable addition. We've separated it from the existing house to make them different, but it is repeating the different additions. Like it's repeating this garage, it's repeating the front piece.
I guess I would like to make more of a contrast, and I did a little sheet of things that I thought might. That's the Rogers Mansion. The owner, the applicant, actually has a very beautiful entrance vestibule, which is a flat-roofed, neoclassically detailed vestibule. Well, I think you could use that vocabulary.
And you designed that, right?
I designed that.
Well, it's beautiful. But I would use that as your vocabulary.
But it's much smaller.
No, that's why I included these other images I found on the internet, where you see a Greek Revival house and then a very glassy, flat roofed addition on the upper left.
We are counting on the.
Are we putting this in the record?
Yeah. I intentionally kept the roof very low so it matched the rest of the house, but I am really hoping to get that cathedral ceiling so we have an open space. I mean, the other parts of the house are 7 feet 4, and I think you can live in that
Oh, no, you don't want that in your addition.
by having the addition.
But what is the
give you
height from the
space.
roof to the bottom of the second floor north-facing windows? The bottom, from the ground, or finished floor up to the sill height of the north-facing second floor windows.
You gotta go to, go to the addition, the north elevation.
Here.
Yeah, if you could put a flat roof at that height, I mean, you're going to have a 10-foot ceiling, I think. I just from
That's
scaling.
quite, I mean, we did look at it, like a shed roof, but it's very flat, and then you have to have,
I mean, I understand the quarter-inch pitch per foot. I know that. But I think if perceptually flat, it would separate it, it would make a greater distinction with the original. There is precedent for it, certainly in the village and in your own house, which I think is very beautifully detailed, by the way, that I've always admired it. You put it up in the last 15 years or so, right? 20 years maybe? I remember watching it and saying, what a nice thing. This is very sensitive. And I just think you've got all the answers right there, and why go further? And then, if you didn't want traditional, I really couldn't tell what your preference was with, stylistic preference was with the addition. But if you wanted modern, you could certainly do a modern flat roof thing too. I wouldn't have any problem. I'm not saying you have to do that, but I think you get a lot of freedom with the flat roof, and you stop fighting with the geometry of the original.
okay, thank you.
And remember, you've got the perfect program for a pavilion. It's just living room and dining room. You put all the kitchens and bathrooms and everything else, and stuffed them out of the way. You've got an opportunity to do a beautiful pavilion, classical pavilion, either neoclassical or classical modern.
Anything you want.
Anything you want. And that's why I like the glass.
Well, I would have liked to have a kind of modern glass, and I had proposed even a green roof, but this is not what the owner wants. I mean, the owner wants something more symmetrical.
Peter. Okay. So, I don't know.
I'm presuming you wouldn't have a problem with the metal roof on that.
No.
I mean, this is my.
I would.
Well, let me talk about that.
It's very
I'm very proud to own. I own an 1840s Greek revival on Shelter Island, and there's the flat roof part of it.
Yeah.
And it's a metal roof. And there's a very famous one in Suffolk County.
There you have it.
Yes. Oh, sure. Right now.
John, you're going to have to buy the ferry service.
Excuse me?
You're going to have to buy the ferry service to get over there. That's pretty upsetting.
I mean, John, that's exactly what I'm driving at. So
I understand. So we'll take a look at that. I think the desire is to get a little bit more ceiling height in there to make
Absolutely.
it, because you'll see if you want to go into the house, it's quite literally claustrophobic at times, and that's why we're.
No, I can see that. That's why I really believe you need that west.
So I think we're looking at it, but we might. I don't want to commit to it necessarily, but I think it's a learned response to it. Thank
So
you.
where are we here now? Thinking of options, or?
Can two of us go on a field trip?
I'd like to go.
Can two of us go on a field trip? As long as we don't talk to each other?
No, two of you can talk to each other.
Okay.
3 people can't. Open meetings law. No,
I'll waive it.
we're not chancing it.
No.
Especially with you on board, Mr. Bennett.
Now, John's a treat to be with. Come on.
You can come, I just meant 3 of us can't come and it's all fine, and then it isn't. I'm not doing that.
That'll bite us.
Yeah, I'm
Does
playing by the
everyone agree
rules.
that they want a flat roof here, or do we have other thoughts?
I don't know. I don't think we want to say.
what the roof should be.
So,
Yeah, it's not up to us.
yeah, and let me say that without seeing one versus the other, I'm not making a judgment one versus the other.
Well, I would like it if
can't-
we could have this. Did you not like this?
I'm a layman when it comes to architecture.
Yeah.
Okay, my judgment and my vote is equal to everybody else's, but my perspective is more limited. So I appreciate the discussion that my colleagues are having. I'm accepting it, but until I see it on paper, I can't visualize what it is. I'm not disagreeing with them.
You're correct.
But I'm not saying I'm not agreeing with them. I'm not disagreeing with them. If you want to hold to your design, that's your choice. If you want to come back to another design, that's your choice. And I can't tell you which way I'm going to vote.
Right.
So,
Until you see it.
right, until I see it.
I'm not quite clear.
I think let's
I-
come back with some optionality here.
All
okay?
I'm saying is that
So you're wanting to come back?
Well,
Okay.
are you don't want a gable roof. Do you guys also not want a gable roof on the addition?
I'm saying I can't make a decision without.
Well, you can make a
seeing
decision
what
on
it looks
this.
like.
I mean, what's your decision on that?
On that.
Like, what's your comments?
I'm indifferent to it.
Okay, that's helpful, because indifferent would suggest that it might be approvable. John?
I would agree. It'd be interesting to see other options, but I don't, other than, from my perspective, the amount of glass, I mean, that's the only comment I had.
It was, yes.
And that really is, for me, is really confined to the set of 5 on the one side.
Okay, that's extremely
Somehow
helpful.
the symmetry of the shed dormer and the windows kind of makes sense.
But understand, indifference is, I might suggest.
Yeah, I know, it's a little bit difficult, Jeff, though, because you have this depiction in front of you. Sarah, what is your thought on the flat as opposed to the?
I think the flat makes sense because you do get more height and the roof is, it's.
I mean, we have some pitch on it, obviously.
Yes, oh, exactly, it's not going to be, it would not be flat, but then I wouldn't have trouble with metal either, I don't believe, because with the shallow pitch, you're not going to be able to see it anyway.
That would definitely set it apart from
Yes,
it would set it apart from the rest of it.
if it's something that the applicant would be amenable to.
Well, they will have, so are you,
Susan, what's your thought?
I don't know what to think, Mr. Bennett, right now.
I don't know what to
How
think.
about, I don't like the dormers in the midsection there. I find that really disappointing.
No, in terms of the modern,
I'm not saying.
you're not saying. That makes it difficult because you have
Well,
it
unless you
presented in
present it
front
on
of
a
you.
piece of paper, I can't
Well, it
say.
is in front of you on a piece of paper. That's what I'm saying.
This?
Yes.
I'm not thrilled with it.
In
I
the fact that it's pitched, or the fact that you prefer something?
I don't know. I'm not an architect. It's up to you to bring
no,
it. So is it a yes or a no for me? I'm not willing to say right now.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult when you're not willing to give
Okay, well, that's just gonna-
substantive comment. That actually is your job. So if you're,
Well,
I'd like
thank
to
you
know
very
whether or
much.
not,
I'm just going to stay mute then for now.
you just, excuse me?
Being admonished by you, that's fine.
No, I'm not. I'm just telling you what the law is.
I'm done,
I'd just
Mr.
like to know
Bennett.
whether you're done with what. You can't say you're done in the middle of a meeting. I'm asking you to respond.
I'm
to
not
the
going
drawing
to
in
be
front of you.
badgered, so stop.
I'm not badgering you. I'm asking
Fine.
you what your input is.
That might be your idea, but I'm really not going to move forward here. Everyone else, there are 5 of us.
All right, so we'll come back, we'll look at some options. I think we're going to come back, and I'm going to try to give you some examples of dormers like that in period buildings, and we'll take a look. We may come back with the gable, but we'll also take a look at some flat stuff, because I don't think that's outside of the vernacular at all.
No, I think it would work.
Okay, all right, great.
I think it might leave the historic part of it more alone, separate, less encroaching.
Reversible.
That's what it's.
Yeah, that's what's supposed
That's
to be.
the idea.
All right, motion to approve applicant's request, BHNH LLC, 109 Hampton Road, for an adjournment till our next meeting on,
So as we advise other folks, you should be aware that there will not be a full board at the next meeting.
it's a
We'll be
Jewish
here.
holiday. Jeff will not be here.
I will not be here.
We have a 4-member board.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine, we'll be here.
Motion to
Just wanna be
approve
transparent,
applicant's
John.
request.
Excuse me?
Just want to be transparent.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay, that's hard with the noise.
For an adjournment, BHNH LLC, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My sister does
Next,
amazing work.
Jason Kahn, 155 Hampton Road. Hi, Lucy. Hi, Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
sorry, we're outside and I'm a little bit cold.
State
so.
your names, please.
Jason Kahn, owner applicant.
Your architect.
Let's get the drawings out. All right, good to see everyone. Let's start with the, before we go where we left off the last time, I want to say that, I don't know if, good to see Mr. Gregory, how are you?
I saw the video, so
you did?
I'm all caught up.
Okay, great, no pressure. But I did want to mention, I'm sure you saw the video, but I want to mention you did make some suggestion on the glass that you wanted to remove. So I did mention at the last meeting I did remove them, and we did do that. We also removed the railings on the one-story. Where's that? This portion. So just the rendering, as you can see, the railings were removed. All right, so it was advised after quite the back and forth to come back and ask for the full board to review it, to vote on it. But in order to get this gentleman's approval, I did instruct the architect, and we went back and we did add that hip roof as an option.
And thank you very much.
Thank you
because
so
I
much.
think it looks perfect.
I do like how it looks as a confession from the side. No. So, before, let me. All right, okay. Let me be careful on the record here.
You fixed the roof, and I really appreciate it. You listened, you worked hard. You really, Lucy, you did everything we asked.
You've come a long way from the
With
first
great diligence.
go around.
And I congratulate you, and
Thank you,
did
sir.
a great job.
We appreciate
So
it.
for me, the roof is
You
settled.
can't see
Okay.
us.
I think it's fine.
That's a big deal.
Applause for the
And I not to go back from that, we acted on the historic consultant.
You did.
No hip. And, I do have to say, looking at the view of the hip roof when I saw it in the architect, I did like how it looked from that side. Even though it's not visible, but you can see it. It did look better.
It's just a better connection.
But I'm happy and I appreciate that you feel that it's a much more better looking roof and more functional roof.
And thank you, Lisa.
I asked if there's no other thing to.
Well, here's the thing. I did go over there because I couldn't sleep at night because of the deck.
Okay.
Which is really big and really not something we do. And I don't know how it's going to be handled, but I do not think it should be you should not have a second floor deck. There are people across the street, there are people, that's a big space, bigger that we would never approve it in any
Well, I
circumstance.
believe we addressed it the last time, and
Well, okay, I changed my mind, and I'm telling you that I don't think, and I'm not the only person, I believe, who feels that it's too anomalous, it sets a precedent, and it really is, it's not something we do on, if it were a restaurant, maybe, but it's a house, and it's in a residential district. That part of it, because we're on Willie Street now, right?
Well, it's really set back, and if you look at the satellite picture.
It's set back, but it's huge. Isn't it? It's like 19 feet by how many?
17 by 12.
17 by 12, as big as a pretty big living room, correct?
It's a tough one. I mean,
Well, if you lived across this Woolley Street, would you want that going on at night? It might.
It's not really visible at all from that
It's
angle.
hearable. Who knows?
If you look at the satellite
You don't think that 20 people would be out there having a cocktail and talking?
If
it were down,
I don't.
yes, it's going to be your house maybe, and that's not really what we do.
It's after master bedroom. It's not like for the rest
Yeah,
of the
well,
house.
that doesn't get you off the hook. If you were down on the patio below having 20 people having a drink, which of course in this day and age may never happen, but let's hope that there will be a time. The way it is now, 6 people could only go out there, so maybe it'd be fine, but it's really not something we do, so it's got to be not a deck, not a deck you can go out on.
So if it's off the master bedroom,
They want to cover the part underneath. Everyone's got the same thing. They want to put a table in there or sit around in there or whatever.
And
That's
what
fine.
we've done in the past, especially
Just
if
make
you
it
go off a master
inaccessible.
bedroom, it's, perhaps where this, you just shorten the accessible space. You still have a deck, but it's maybe 3 or 4
Yeah, but
feet in depth.
they want the covering, right, Lucy?
Well, they wouldn't change that necessarily if they changed the railing.
We changed the railing.
So it's illegal.
Right.
Yeah.
28 inches, not 36.
So you still have the covering. You just don't have a 200 square foot deck. You have a 17 by 4 feet. So it's something like that. So if somebody wants to come out of their bedroom and look at their expanse and they want to have a little bistro table or a chair, they can do that. But it's not functional as a
But how can you do that because the space is still...
No, I'm
Either
saying
you can go on it or you can't.
If you move, no, I don't think that's the case. I shouldn't say no. It doesn't necessarily have to be the case. You can put the railing back from the edge.
But that won't look proper.
Well, I don't know. It can. I mean,
May I say something?
Sure.
The concern is, if I'm hearing Ms. Resiston, is that you're concerned of that amount of people gathering on that side of the deck. But it would disturb, neighbors or what have you. But again, as we mentioned, and not to repeat, but it faces the parking lot.
Yes,
all
but
way to that
across the
side.
street, I went over there twice. It faces the parking
It's
lot.
to that side of this house, not, Woldy, and then you're approximately 20 feet, 35 feet setback, and then another 20 feet, and then another 25 feet, and then you would have that on the second level. It's considerable, it's 150 feet from my neighbor. That's after the driveway, after the pool house, after the 55-foot pool, and then it's not even on that, it's all the way to the other side.
Well, and also, I drove around and I actually took my bike out and then spent some time looking around. There is the house next to the one across from Woolsey.
Yes.
There is a balcony,
There's actually
second floor balcony.
five different houses we find on Elm Street, immediate, not down the block, just immediate surrounding that has just as big
One that
decks.
big?
Yeah, just as big decks, yeah.
Pictures, I'll
let's
just show
see.
you. So if you're looking,
Charlie may want to
Well, that's
view
a
this.
good argument.
if you're looking, I was standing at the gate of that house.
Charlie, can you get this over Susan's head?
It's really hard to see, though.
Or do you want us to put it on the table?
Yeah. Over my head.
And again, on several on Elm Street that has just as big decks that we had from pictures.
Well, that's all unfortunate to hear. I see it. Okey doke. Well, then I actually think it's probably not prohibitive to have it. Well, here, these are pretty good.
It's the one, there's the house on Woolsey and the one right next to it. And the difference is that balcony is overlooking their backyard as opposed to this one, which would be at a distance and even.
Right, okay, well, if it's party deck versus party deck, not so bad.
Well, and plus the difference is it's off a bedroom, and that's, the other
I
consideration.
don't think I'll have 20 people
Oh, but
coming off
people-
my bedroom, but
You may not, but the next owner might.
All right, I retract, I think you made a good argument. How's
thank you,
that?
ma'am. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
So is this a go?
I think it is.
Oh, my God.
I'm happy now that I
You guys
know
are going to
about the
pass
party
out.
deck.
Me
Crack open the
too.
champagne.
Plus, you don't want me to keep refusing to leave like the last time.
You don't want to pressure me like you did last
So
time.
we're going to have to close this for written decision, which is just that we actually make the formal vote in 2 weeks. Okay? That's how it works on historic properties.
Okay.
Motion to close the application of Jason Kahn, 155 Hampton Road, for written decision.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
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 Thank you all very much.
Yeah, good luck, you two.
Thank you.
You were persistent, if really,
Thank you all.
That was an incredible effort.
Really, thanks a
by
lot.
all of us, I would
Yeah,
say.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lucy.
Yeah. See ya.
All right, take care.
Next, Walden Manor is adjourned until 9:28, the next meeting.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So the next application and final one is 412 First Neck Lane LLC.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. We got your plans.
Yes.
No.
Sorry about last time.
Just, it's just one too many meetings when the people would just come and have like, oh, one more thing, and it just doesn't work. But I think in general, your plans were met with pretty much approval here, so you did a good job.
Thank you. We listened to the comments, we reviewed the tape again, and tried to get it, and we think it looks great. So we appreciate the comments of the board.
I think it looks great, too. I was amazed.
I've got one little pesky. The shutters are they look inoperable. They don't look like they actually close. If used, they don't look like they would totally cover, above all on the east elevation. And I don't really see a reason for them. You've done such a good job making a gymnasium, basically, or workout, workout, but I mean, look like.
The intention was to have the shutters operable because all the shutters on the house are operable. And on the double windows, we would just do a bifolding system with the shutter doors.
Oh, okay. Okay. But to me, you've done such a good job making it look like it is what it is that I don't really see the need to have the added, the added shutter be. To me, it's too much of an historical flourish that I don't really think is necessary.
I don't object to them.
I don't either, particularly since they're going to be operable. I thought they were going to be fake, the double.
I actually think they help because otherwise those big doors start to look, it gets kind of glassy, which was our objection in the first place.
But I did have one suggestion. Well, at least on the addition. We did everything, it's fine. I just wonder if the side facing the driveway, if you would consider putting glass on the other side as well, and making it transparent, making it a transparent pavilion. It would really lighten its footprint.
We have two large double hung windows on that side. You're saying should we do it the same as the other side?
Yeah, maybe you have equipment you have to put there. I don't know.
That was actually it, because that side we were loading the bigger.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Oh my God, you guys, you can flip.
I have one more.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Can't help it.
You can't tell them what to do, you just have to tell them what you think would be nice, maybe.
I did. I'm just suggesting.
That's right. Go ahead.
We appreciate the comment.
The screened porch roof. Why can't you leave it flat the way it is now?
I mean, rather than Regency?
Yeah. The one, it's unsightly from the second floor that we're looking down on. It's kind of a rubber roof. We wanted to get some nicer materials going. The pitch on it is pretty small, so it's not reading as a heavy pitch roof.
All right, that's minor. I mean, the only other option is a mansard, which would be horrible.
Yeah. Dreadful.
That was that's all.
All right, are we going to approve this notice? Mm-hmm. All right, it's going to written decision, but that is basically it's a favorable review. I hope you notice. Motion to turn over for written decision, 412 First Neck Lane LLC, for written decision. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
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 Fantastic, and good luck with the project.
Thank you so much.
Gorgeous.
Thank you.
It's a great
It
project.
really is.
Oh, I know.
And I thought you really changed it in a way that was so sensitive and great. I'm
Thank
so
you.
impressed by the whole thing.
Thank you.
And
I can't wait to see the
restoration
brick.
parts are just wild.
Yeah.
So that on top of
House
this.
next door to it's incredible too. On the
sister house.
The south side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was probably wrecking a lot by biking down the lane, but it was like
Surprised
I
you
had to
made
see
it.
it.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck. It's going to go on forever, right?
Well, we're trying to get it done for next summer. That's
Okay.
the push.
We look forward to seeing it then.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Okay, motion to close the meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation for September 14th, 2020.
So moved.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.